Hey everyone. You thought this stream was cursed, didn't you? And it would never happen. Well, finally it is happening. And we finally get to talk with Madison about Stranger Things 5, Part 1, the final season. So we are live, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well and you're going to show up and talk with us as well, because lots to talk about from these first 4 episodes of season 5. I think we're definitely both quite positive on what we've seen so far from the final seasons, but there's obviously plenty to talk about. And don't forget, speaking of me and Madison, we did record our best and worst movies and TV shows of 2025. It was a lengthy 3-hour discussion, and that video premieres on Monday, and there's the link in the chat there. So if you want to check out that live and react live, you can also do that. And I did, as always, put Madison's link in the description for her channel, so go and check out Madison's channel if you haven't already. Yeah, how are you, Madison? Welcome.
I'm doing good. The reason we had to reschedule is because I had the flu. Get your flu shots if you haven't already.
Yeah, I got mine the other day.
Yeah, I went to the doctor this week, and she was like, "I think you're well enough because you don't have a fever to get your flu shot." I'm like, "This feels so dumb." Getting it after I got the flu, but there's other strains, so it makes sense. But
yeah, that's new.
I've come prepared. I got my cough drops,
nice
tissues, and water, so we're good to go. I'm ready to talk Stranger Things.
Excellent Stranger Things shirt as well, so she's really
you.
come prepared. Very nice. So this is excellent. And yeah, so check out Madison's channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new to this channel. Let us know what you think of the first 4 episodes in the comments or in the live chat. You can of course donate live via a super chat. You can also gift channel memberships if you're feeling generous, and you can also, when the stream goes live and goes up later tomorrow, you can also hit that hype button to hype out the stream. So that's another thing you can do to help the channel and support this community. So yeah, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through each episode sort of plot beat wise. I've sort of streamlined it as much as I can do, and then I'm going to ask some Madison some questions, and we're going to have a conversation, and that's the idea. But yeah, we're sort of raring to go, and we want your feedback as well. So there will be some images to go along with some of this stuff. So yeah, so let's get into it. So chapter 1 was of course called The Crawl. It was written and directed by the Duffer Brothers. As we have our first person in the chat. Hey, Adi, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, written, directed by the Duffer Brothers. So like season 4, we opened with a flashback, but this time it's Will in the Upside Down in 1983. Or at least it's the actor playing the younger version of Will. He hums to himself, "Should I Stay or Should I Go Now?" by The Clash, almost like he's asking himself a question. The Demogorgon leaps into Will's tent. He fires off a shot at it and then runs up a tree, being pursued by the monster. Will then crash lands down to Earth. AD loves Stranger Things. Very good. We all do. And then he's dragged away by the Demogorgon, who leaves him for Vecna, who shows up from the Upside Down. And Vecna, in that demonic but also quite sexy voice, I've got to say, says, "At last we begin. William," he calls him, we are going to do such beautiful things." And that's kind of like the sort of cold open, if you like. So in present day 1987, Hawkins is under military imposed quarantine following the events of season 5. As a result, the Byers family are living with the Wheelers, as revealed when Mike humbles himself and walks in on Joyce by mistake, thinking it was Nancy. And that's a nice callback to a previous season. Of course, grumpy Ted Wheeler has a problem with the living arrangements. Robin volunteers at a local radio station where she goes by the name Rockin' Robin. Very nice. She uses her public service updates and records to feed coded clues to the rest of the gang, sometimes getting herself in a bit of hot water with the government as a result. Steve is Robin's producer with all the props, and Nancy is station manager. Robin has a big date with Vicky planned that night. At school, Dustin wears the Hellfire shirt, both as a tribute to the late Eddie, but also as rebellion to the school bullies who want Hellfire closed for good. Boo. When the bullies square up to Dustin, Mike, Lucas, and Will have his back. They warn Dustin to keep his head down and blend in, as that was part of Hopper's plan and the bigger picture of finding Vecna. As the military hunts for 11... Oh, wrong image. That's the image I wanted. As the military hunts for 11, we find the girl herself looking very Sarah Connor-like, training with Joyce and Hopper. Hopper is harsh on Al, as in his words, he doesn't want her wasted on another shitty recon mission. After 37 missions to hunt Vecna, producing nothing but soldiers, there's greater pressure on 11 because Will hasn't had what Steve describes as the goosies in months. Murray enters Hawkins disguised as a grocery delivery man to smuggle in supplies such as peanut butter, bullets, and he also gives Nancy a report revealing the government have a big burn planned for 10 p.m. that night. Robin uses the Diana Ross song Upside Down, see what they did there, to inform everyone else. Hang on. Sorry, this is what happens. To inform everyone else, slipping in the nerdy fact about Ross's guilty pleasure movie, The Wiz, being over 2 hours long, aka that's how long the burn is going to last. The idea of the crawl is that it explores a different section of the Upside Down in search of Vecna with a window of time left free by the government's burn experiments. Mike and Nancy separately lay out the plan to their groups. Separately lay out the plan to their group. Mike including figures Nancy has aboard. The siblings dismiss any suggestion that Vecna is no longer around. Well, season 4 might be pointless if he was dead, let's be fair. Or season 5, I should say. At school, Holly speaks to someone only she can see, possibly an imaginary friend called Mr. Whatsit, who warns her about monsters in Hawkins. A teacher notifies Karen. In the most heartwarming scene of the episode, in my opinion, Mike reassures his sister that everyone gets scared sometimes, introducing her to his Dungeons and Dragons figures, which gave him the courage, saying she could be heroic Holly. That's beautiful. That is just beautiful. We are introduced to Dr. Branner's replacement, Dr. K, season guest star Linda Hamilton, who clearly has a better sense of humor than her predecessor, but says, innocent people are dying. I need to get the gal. Lucas and Will visit Max at the hospital. Sadie Sink gets close to $1 million per episode for pretending to be in a coma once again, as Lucas plays her favorite Kate Bush song to spur her on. I'm only joking. I love Sadie Sink, and
No, I was just thinking that's like the best gig ever.
Yeah,
$1 million to just lay there. Oh my god, I'm so jealous. Okay,
it's great. It's great money. We should all sign up to the Sadie Sink role. Yeah. Will accidentally catches Robin and Vicky in an intimate moment, panics and flees. Dustin clears up Eddie's vandalized grave, this time finding blood from the snake, which he had earlier put in Andy's locker to scare him. So Andy's like the leader of the bullies. Andy and the other bullies show up at the grave and brutally beat up Dustin, putting him out of commission for his role in the crawl later that night. Jonathan volunteers for the role of working with rival Steve to help track Hopper from the surface. With the burn distracting the guards, Hopper hops onto the back of the truck, taking him into the upside down. Back at the Wheeler house, Holly gets upset overhearing her parents fighting over the imaginary friend issue. Karen hitting the bottle pretty hard. As Hopper gets deeper inside the upside down, the truck crashes. The Demogorgon responsible escapes the upside down into the nearby woods. Will gets goosies for the first time in months and indicates to Nancy that the Demogorgon is heading for her house. In the cliffhanger, the Demogorgon breaks through Holly's bedroom ceiling. And that is episode 1 of season 5. So pretty strong stuff. I'll just say before I throw it open to Madison, I think my main complaint with this episode is that god-awful sweater which Jonathan had, that bloody terrible cardigan, like made him look like he was like 50 years old or something, rather than
I'll take your word for it because I don't remember that cardigan. Yeah. I'll definitely think about that next time I watch it, though. Did he have it for the whole season, or was it just that one episode?
I think he had it for more than one episode. I can't remember, because he was mixing up the two looks. Because like underneath, he had like this band called The Fall, who were like a big punk indie band. Like he had a t-shirt of them underneath the cardigan, so he's kind of going for both vibes, where it's like, okay, I'm an edgy teen on one hand, but then I've got this like old man cardigan, and that's the thing. Like one of the things I didn't mention is him and Steve competing with each other up that tower, and it was like, I'm sorry, was a
great scene.
Yeah, it was fun, but Steve wins by default just because of that ridiculous cardigan you've got on.
Maybe Jonathan thinks that Nancy has a thing for old grandpas. I don't know. But
maybe.
Yeah, that was a great recap. Where did you get that?
Thank you. Well, it's partly then I just, I checked on Stranger Things wiki, and they, at least for the first 2 episodes, they have like a sort of a beat for beat roughly. And so I took it from there, and then I added some of my own kind of comments as well. But thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, so, I could tell. I was like, either a human wrote that, and I was like, that's not a Wikipedia entry or anything. So yeah, that's nice. I like your spin on it. That was great.
Thank you very much.
Especially Vecna's sexy boy.
Yeah.
Online I see, oh my gosh, the actor that plays him reading thirst tweets and stuff. Like, I know it's out there that people are
so thirsty. There are some like shippers,
yeah, thirsty for Vecna.
Because there's shippers for everything.
I do not have, and I usually a lot of times I like the bad guys, and Buffy, I was a huge Spike fan, and like I'm always usually drawn to that, but not for Stranger Things. I like Steve. I like the good, wholesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's because we were introduced to Vecna. He looked like it's just nightmare fuel. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't
No,
know.
it
Even
is
when
a
he's
very good
normal, he just
villain.
gives me the creeps. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine. If it different strokes for different folks. But yeah, that was really funny though.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And
Cool.
the we'll do beautiful things. I was like, oh, that sounds
It's
creepier now that I think
it's a
about
very
it.
yeah, also that's the first time I've heard Will referred to as William, and I mean
Mm,
that makes sense, but he's the first one to do that, and
yeah.
I think it just adds something a little bit personal and a little bit more disturbing, and the idea that Vecna wants control of this person, and he's
Hmm.
actually, and maybe it's just something that's a bit more adult, like
Hmm.
at that point all Will's friends are just going to call him Will, and but
Yeah.
maybe this more adult character is calling him William. So
Hmm.
it's quite an old fashioned name as well, isn't it, William? So I guess that's partly why, because Vecna does have a few years on the clock.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, overall thoughts. What did you think of this opening episode of the season?
Oh, it was great. I don't know if it's my favorite episode, but it definitely is
Hmm.
at least one of my favorites of the season and really of the last couple of years. It was so good. I
Okay.
loved the opening with the Rockin' Robin and the radio and the codes. It's so much fun, especially because I just love Steve and Robin, both individually and especially their chemistry together. Um, so that was one of my favorite openings, and uh, yeah, I think it had a great ending with the Demogorgon and Holly. I
Great
agree that
question.
scene between Holly and
Mike.
Mike. Yeah, I'm thinking Will now. I have Will on the brain. Holly and Mike was so cute. They
Loved
kind
it.
of, yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, uh, oh my gosh, I can't remember the character's name. Um, whenever his little sister was joining Hellfire Club in the opening of season 4.
Okay. Do you mean Erica?
Yes,
Oh no.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like bringing girls into the D&D world, that kind of thing. It's cute, and little sisters too, kind of being like a reoccurring thing. Yeah, and I loved Heroic Holly, and I was waiting to give this to you, although it
Beautiful.
did scare me because I was like, they're giving Mike a lot of screen time. And I was just like, oh, this makes me very, very nervous because like I don't think he's had this much screen time since the first season, whenever they focused so much on him and Elle. And I was just like, I don't know, like I'm scared. They're giving him scenes with Holly, they're giving him scenes with his sister, they're giving him scenes with 11. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, oh my god, this is not good because I
Maybe
really like
setting him
Mike.
up
I don't,
for something big, yeah.
yeah. Um, but that was such a great scene and it was so heartwarming. And yeah, I knew Mr. Whatsit was bad news. If there's
Yeah.
any complaint that I have about the season overall, and I'm not going to get too much into this, I know we're going to talk about each episode, but it's the
Mhm.
fact that it took them so long to figure out Mr. Whatsit was Vecna. And I know that it's because we're the audience and we know these tropes,
Mhm.
we connect the dots faster. But like there's some seasons where I feel like the earlier ones we're learning things with the characters, and this one I was just like, okay, Mr. What's It is Vecna, like come on, put it together. Like it took
Yeah.
Will and Nancy a lot, not Will, Mike, Zachy, yeah, Mike and Nancy, it took them a while to figure it out. I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
invisible force that's preying on children. I mean, the bad guy you've been looking for is, yeah. I was like, come on, guys, come on. But that's a small complaint.
Yeah, yeah.
A very small complaint. Um, and yeah, so this was just a great opening overall. Like, I have no complaints at all for the first episode. I think it was just really perfect, and I loved how, because I was thinking at the end of season 4, season 5 was going to be like all business, like it's all going to be about Vecna.
Mhm.
Things are going to be almost maybe apocalyptic, or at the very least, like things are going to be so far removed from normal. And they do have the military and the quarantine and all that stuff, but it feels like there's still some semblance of Hawkins there. especially in that not the opening scene, but the scene early on where the bacon plate that gets passed down the table and everybody takes a piece, and by the time it gets to Mr. Wheeler, there's no bacon. He's like, we got to get rid of these people. That's such a wonderful scene. Like, it's so
great,
hilarious, and it brings back that sense of normalcy and, this charming little 80s small town that I thought was going to be completely missing from this season. I should have given the Duffer Brothers more credit, but I just figured, like, we're winding down, so it's going to be all about Vecna, and it's going to be all about stopping the bad force. And there was definitely more of that than in previous seasons, because previous seasons were a little more normal, but I thought they did a really good job of still maintaining some normalcy. So we still got those scenes that make this series so iconic, is like the domestic small town vibes with the sinister underworld that's just on the other side. They did such a good job somehow making it still feel fairly normal despite everything that's going on. In that first episode, really, they did such a great job balancing that. And I thought it was fantastic. I was so psyched, and that cliffhanger ending with the Demogorgon was great. So yeah. What about your thoughts?
Yeah, because I think your complaint about the Mr. What's-It stuff is fair, but I guess that's more for the next episode. But they definitely did a good job of like keeping you guessing at the end of this episode. Like, there was a good misdirect, because like I had no idea it was coming for Holly, and the Wheeler family, and I just love that it's just a look from Will to Nancy, which is like, oh yeah, they're coming for your family, and that kind of changes everything. And because I sort of thought, okay, they're giving Holly a bit more of a role. Maybe she's a potential person who could have a spin-off, because they're obviously having more spin-offs, and like now the character, at least it's a different actress, but the character at least is of age where they can feature her a little bit more. By the way, I don't know if you knew this, but the actress was in Evil Dead Rise, and that's where the Duffer Brothers saw her, so that's how they discovered her. And yeah, I think so far she's pretty solid in the show, and I do like seeing more of a Mike and Holly, dynamic in that scene, and I'm liking what we're getting from Mike so far this season, because also that scene in this episode with him and Al is really nice as well, when he's talking about the future, and it seems like so far that's his role this season. Partly is like he's good at the motivational sort of pep talks to people.
Yeah.
So that's all really nice. And yeah, no, it is a very strong opening episode. Like, considering it's over an hour long, considering it's like it's the start of a new season, and sometimes in the previous seasons they have been a little bit of slow starters, but this one, it just feels really confident, like it knows what it's doing from the off, and it does a good job of setting up what the status quo is now and what we're going to be looking at moving forward. And yeah, no, there's very few complaints about the first episode, really. I'll say my least favorite scene, I think, is the snake scene with Dustin, because that, I don't know, that just feels out of place. Like, it doesn't really feel like a Stranger Things sort of scene, and it sort of feels a bit like even Dustin when he was like 14 and years ago, I can't imagine doing that sort of thing. But it was, I think it was just a tone thing where it felt a bit out of place.
Yeah.
With the rest of the episode, I quite like some of the other stuff with him and the bullies, and again, that scene when they were beating him up was pretty dark, because they really, went to town on him, and obviously poor Jake the Snake got killed, so that was a thing. And that's and by the way, I know you're not a wrestling fan, but I have to flag up to what I thought were wrestling references, because Jake the Snake was a wrestling character from the 80s and 90s. And in the same episode, you've got Rockin' Robin, and there was a female wrestler called Rockin' Robin. And what's funny about that is she was actually Jake the Snake's sister in real life. So you so maybe there's double the meta-ness on that one. I don't know, but that's
Hmm.
just something that stood out to me as a wrestling fan. But yeah, the snake scene, yeah, I wasn't so keen on,
Hmm.
personally. And I think apart from that, maybe some of the drama with Nancy's parents, with like the mother Karen hitting the bottle a bit heavy,
Mm.
and some of the,
Yeah.
the fights. They thought, yeah, this is a little bit forced drama, but I
Hmm.
will say they make up for that in the next episode. Like once you see where it's going,
Yeah.
it was like a complaint at the time in this episode, but
Hmm.
I think when I saw where it was going in the next episode, I was okay with it.
Hmm.
And that's the thing, because like when I saw that Will and Robin scene at the hospital, I was like, okay, that's a little bit of a weird scene. And I don't know how you read it at the time, but I was wondering if they were trying to say that Will had a crush on
Mm.
Robin, and like that's why he reacted the way he did.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
yeah,
I picked up, to me, that I interpreted that as he's also gay, and seeing someone that's gay
yeah,
may, because there was so much, I mean, there still is a lot of homophobia, but especially then, it was so just not normalized. So for him to see someone that he knows, have that secret, I think that it felt
hmm,
like he was interested because of that. That's how I interpreted it, anyways.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't think they were gonna walk back the crush on Mike and the gay struggle, just because so many people were fans of that. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, that was like, I think that's what's going on. He's just like, yeah, someone else is gay, I'm not alone. But then, of course, I think both he was aware that Robin probably thought he was a pervert because he was watching. So
mhm.
I think that was there too. He was like, "Oh shit, she's gonna think I'm a creeper." So yeah, so that's what I got out of that.
Yeah, that's fair. And when we see the other episodes, that I think
Hmm.
confirms that. It's just something that crossed my mind at the
Mm,
time, and
yeah.
that it was a little bit of an awkward scene, and you
Hmm.
get some great product placement with the Pepsi
Oh,
can
yeah.
as well. Yeah, that was a little
Yeah.
in your
Oh,
face.
speaking kind of on a similar note, I remember thinking as I was watching it, I was like, who I'm really happy for? Kate Bush, because the royalties she must be getting
Yeah.
from every single episode, they keep playing that song over and over. I'm like, she must be just racking up the dough. Good for her. I
Yeah.
bet
Yeah.
I bet she never thought when she released that song, 30 years from now I'm gonna make way more money than I ever did when it first released. Because it's gonna
And
be
it got
really
up
popular.
to number one. And yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is great. And
Hmm.
I mean, speaking, just going back to that when it came up in season 4,
Hmm.
I think just something like that is what shows them the Duffers know what they're doing when it comes to writing. Because when you hear Max listening to that song in the opening episode of season 4, like
Hmm.
I just thought it was just that. I thought it was literally a teenager listening to a bit of music that she's
Hmm.
attached to, and it's the 80s, so Kate Bush was really big, so it was kind of, but I thought that was as far as it goes. But the
Hmm.
fact that it became important to the plot later on, I
Yeah.
thought was like absolutely genius, and the way they
Yeah.
used it. And so yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was great. But yeah, one of the great things about this show is like the gang working as a team, making plans, and that's what we start to see in this. I love the kind of the fact you've got Nancy leading up one side, and she's kind of like making the plans in her own way. That's
Hmm.
why her being like the station manager makes sense, because she's the one who's on hand to receive the reports and
Hmm.
information. Murray being the smuggler is perfect as well, because
Hmm.
that goes to his whole history. And
Yeah.
but you had Mike on the other end with like his cute little figures, so that was all
Hmm.
good stuff. So yeah, no, I think it's off to a strong start, like
Hmm.
for that first episode. So
Yeah.
yeah, good cliffhanger as well.
Hmm.
So, okay, so I think we're about ready to move on to episode 2. So, but guys, if you want to chip in with any questions in the comments, any comments on that episode, then please do so. But in the meantime, I will move on to episode 2 of season 5. So, the episode is The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. Very nice title. And it's written and directed by the Duffer Brothers once again. So here we go. As the Demogorgon bursts through Holly's ceiling, she flees to the bathroom, where a drunk Karen is running a bath and listening to ABBA. By the way, both Ted and Karen seem to be suffering from that special TV disease, meaning you can't hear a big monster stomping about your house or your daughter screaming for her life. At first, Karen doesn't believe her daughter before noticing her bleeding. Or noticing her bleeding. Where was I? As the Demogorgon approaches, the mother reacts quickly, pouring Holly under the bathwater, hoping to throw off the monster. Even Ted steps up, taking a swing with his golf club. For his trouble, he is sent through a wall. Karen gets her Ellen Ripley moment, putting herself in front of her daughter, attacking the monster with the wine bottle. Nancy and 11 approach the house, finding Karen laying bleeding. She points to a gap in the wall, revealing where Holly was dragged inside the Upside Down. A frantic Nancy instructs 11 to go after Holly. Inside the Upside Down, 11 bumps into Hopper, who is bemused when she starts talking about how finding Holly will probably lead to Vecna. 11 punches up Holly's leg, or patches up Holly's leg. Sorry, 11 patches up Hopper's leg. Too many H's, telling him she learned how to do it from Max. Now that's a nice season 3 callback. They share a touching father and daughter type moment as he flashes back to Hopper's past, losing his daughter Sarah. So Jim admits he doesn't want to lose Al like he did Sarah. They find a wall which 11 believes the Demogorgon who took Holly is behind, but they're unable to break it down. Back in Hawkins, Dr. K reviews CCTV footage of the Wheeler house, seeing 11 and Nancy approaching the house, connecting her to the attack. At the hospital, we learn that Karen is in critical condition while Ted is in a coma. I guess because it's not your plot, Ted. That's why you're in a coma. Nancy beats herself up about not getting her family out of Hawkins before this could happen, reminding Mike that Vecna showed her a vision of him going after her family in season 4. Lucas brings up that it's 3 days from the anniversary of Will being adopted, so they've been here before. They both reassure Nancy that if anyone can bring Holly back, it's 11. Mike theorizes that Mr. Whatsit may be real. Lucas urges Max to come out of her coma as they need her more than ever. Hey, let her enjoy a good coma, Lucas, if she wants to. A shot of the heart monitor shows signs of life. Steve and Jonathan argue over Nancy. Jonathan accuses Steve of making everything about himself and moving in on Nancy after Steve's suggestion, his perfectly innocent suggestion, that they go to the hospital to support Nancy. Steve responds that Jonathan and Nancy are not communicating and will end up miserable if that doesn't change. Point to Steve on that one. Jonathan insists they stick to trying to find Holly. Their fight is disrupted by a battered Dustin showing up. Later, Steve and Dustin argue over the current state of affairs. Jonathan screams at them to shut up, followed by an awkward silence. Despite hating Jonathan, Steve tells Dustin he happens to agree with that advice. Point to Jonathan on that one. I'll give him that one. At the radio station, Will tells Joyce that during his previous vision, he felt as if he was in the Demogorgon's mind, believing he is still connected to the hive mind. Robin suggests that they will use Will as a human receiver to locate Vecna and Holly. When Joyce refuses to put Will at risk, they trick her with a brilliant reference to the flux capacitor. Of course, Joyce falls for it because she's old and hasn't seen Back to the Future. They sneak out to return to the site of Will's previous vision. Robin asks Will if he saw her at the hospital yesterday, adding her and Vicky have a relationship that not everyone around town would understand. Later, Will has a vision at the playground, realizing his other visions were from Vecna's point of view. Using telepathic link, Will identifies Vecna's next target as Derek Turnbow, the annoying shit from Holly's class, who may or may not be worth saving. Mike and Nancy sneak into Karen's room by disguising themselves as doctor and nurse. I absolutely love this visual. Mike doing a brilliant fake limp. They ask Karen about Mr. Whatsit. Unable to speak, she writes down that his real name is Henry. The episode closes with Henry talking to Holly and welcoming her into the Creel house, and a nice dose of Mr. Sandman, give me a dream. So that's another real one for you. They are really on cue with their musical choices this season. And that's the episode. That's the cliffhanger. So we've got a comment. Let's see what. I've listened to Tiffany's first album a bunch of times, assuming that one of the songs is in it. In a reworked version, will be the big song in the last 4 episodes. I think they'll go Tiffany. Okay. Well, that's interesting because, of course, we've had the Tiffany song already this season. So, but that's something they could do. Yeah, return to another Tiffany song. And I'll be honest, I only really know that Tiffany song, but that's I'm going to get to that. But yeah, so that's episode 2, which I think is again a really strong episode overall. I think maybe even stronger. But what did you think of episode 2?
Yeah, I think it was a really good follow-up. And man, so much happened in that episode. I mean, so much happened in those 4 episodes. But yeah, I think it was a really strong follow-up. I was so scared that Karen Wheeler died, and I didn't think I would ever care about her character. I mean, I kind of liked her interactions with Max's brother, where, you know, he's like, "Are you Nancy's sister?" And she's like, "I'm her mother." Like, those are my favorite parts.
Brilliant.
He's like, "Mrs. Wheeler." Just that whole interaction is so great. But like in general, I didn't think I would care that much about her character. But I guess it's because, you know, she's protecting her child, and like the actress is so good at just making us really feel her fear and her protectiveness. And I mean, because she's been a character since the beginning, but I was just like surprised at how upset I was at the thought that she was dead. And I was shocked because I was like, this is the last season. They're probably going to kill off a few more characters, and they're probably going to kill some characters we wouldn't expect. And I thought for sure, yeah, Karen Wheeler would be one that's big enough to matter, and to affect us more than we think, but not quite a big enough character that it's like, well, I don't want to rewatch the series now because it's such a bummer.
Hmm.
So I thought for sure she was dead. Like I was super confident that she was dead. And then when they brought her back, I was like, okay, I'm really glad. And I was like, okay, but who's gonna die? Is it gonna be is it
Hmm.
gonna be Mike? Who's gonna die? So mixed feelings because I was like, I thought we got one of the big character deaths out of the way. I made peace with it. And then they brought her back. So it was an emotional roller coaster, but I am overall very glad because that would have just been heartbreaking. It's still heartbreaking, but it would have been so much worse. And I was like, we can kill the husband.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's what I meant about like it's not really
Hmm.
his plot, so that's why he
Yeah,
put him in a coma. But it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. If he just dies in the coma, I'm fine. I never really liked his character. I don't
well,
think. Yeah, go ahead.
well, that's the thing. Like, I still like his character, and I meant to mention this on the other episode, but
Hmm.
it's a testament to the writing of this show that they can actually make you like that douchey sort of character. But like,
Yeah.
and I think it's just because I remember in season one
Hmm.
where he's been that character from the start, and like
Hmm.
they just made it quite funny, like the way he would
Yeah.
randomly say language, but like he just
Yeah.
wasn't interested, and just the back and forth, and it's
Hmm.
almost like, well, why are you married to this square, Karen? But you just that's the way it works sometimes. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
always assumed, even though they've never said anything, she just got knocked out. She's like, oh, I gotta marry him. I'm pregnant. This is
yeah,
this is the 70s because I'm assuming it's about the 70s when they got married. It's the 70s. This is what you have to
probably,
do.
yeah.
You get pregnant, you get married. So that's what I always assumed because I was like, I don't know how else she would be with him.
Yeah,
But
total mismatch. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, you're right. I don't like hate his character. It's just like if somebody's got to go, that's not one that I would mind. But I also feel like the deaths are probably going to have weight this season. So
Yeah.
like the dad that's just kind of been there but never really been a big character is probably going to be safe.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I sort of feel his character serves a purpose. That's the way I would put it,
mhm,
without being like an important character. And,
yeah.
but yeah, like you, I really like Karen, and she's one that's been an ever
Mhm,
present. And you're right, at times it feels that maybe she was just going to be a supporting character and not that
mhm,
important. But I'm going to say this, this might seem a little bit of a hot take, but like
mhm,
I actually prefer the relationship with her and Nancy to the relationship with Joyce and Will, like
mhm.
even more. Like that's not a knock on their relationship, but like
Yeah.
I just think the stuff we saw in season 3 with Nancy and Karen, like when
Mhm,
Nancy was experiencing the sexism at the journalist job, and
mhm,
Karen's whole point of view as someone who had to sacrifice and didn't have the same opportunities, but obviously recognizes what her daughter's going through, like that. I think that was just a beautiful scene with them, and they've had
mhm,
ups and downs, and I think Karen Wheeler is one of my favorite from recent TV, like Mothers. I think she's
mhm,
great. The actress is awesome, and I think you can see that actress has a bit of versatility because, of course, like she was on Person of Interest, and she
mhm,
played quite a different character in that. She played more of a badass villain, so
mhm.
she has shown a bit of versatility.
Yeah.
So it was great that she got that moment,
Mhm.
use. And she was really smart, like thinking to pull Holly under the bathwater,
Yeah.
thinking, well, this might throw the monster off.
Mhm.
So she was thinking on her feet. So
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely gave her a badass moment, which is another thing that really surprised me. It was just they made her really step up in a way that reminded me of Steve in the first season.
mm,
We all underestimated him. Like, he's the douchey jock boyfriend that's going to run off and she'll end up with Jonathan because he saved her. And then Steve comes back and he has his kind of badass moment where he fights the Demogorgon. And this kind of felt similar. Of course, Karen's not going to leave her daughter, so I don't think anybody expected that. But I don't think anyone expected her to be a badass, like willing to fight this monster and, doing it with so much intensity instead of just like cowering, which is kind of how I would have assumed before that episode. that she might, she might do. She might just be like the typical damsel in distress kind of character. So I love that they gave her that moment of badassness.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It was, yeah, it was unexpected, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it made it that much more satisfying whenever she pulled through. Um, yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
moment. It's one of my favorite moments this season, I think, was
Yeah.
both the fight and the fact that she didn't die.
Yeah, there's some great direction in that scene, like with the
Mhm.
slow motion shots and the
Mhm.
way that reveals through those shots what happened. And yeah, it raises the stakes twofold: the fact that Holly got taken and the fact that Karen is on the verge of dying. And I think the point is they really sold it. Like you said, you believed that
Mhm.
she was going to die, and I think in the moment I did believe, because for similar reasons. So
Mhm.
the important things is there was stakes in it, and you really cared about. Nancy was so, like, it was so sad to see her get upset herself at the hospital. It's like, I should have seen this coming, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Okay, we've got another comment from Skill Trollus. I think that's how you say your name. I think Ted and Karen will get a solid redemption arc, but may still die at the end. Okay. Though there are so many characters now, they have to kill some big characters in the next few episodes. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I agree with most of that. I don't think Karen really needs a redemption arc. I think at this
Yeah.
point she's proven herself. But it was nice that Ted had that little moment, like he actually
Mhm.
showed a bit of balls. But that was yeah, it was quite funny that, because when I made the crack about, like, that they didn't even realize their daughter was like with this monster for.
Yeah.
I think he was the worst offender because he was
Mhm.
outside isolated for ages just playing golf. Whereas at
Mhm.
least she was drunk and she had the music playing, she had the bath water running.
Mhm.
So I could buy that maybe in a daisy, hazy sort of state, then maybe that's why. But
Mhm.
but yeah, I think, like, what you doing, mate? You're out here on your own playing golf. Surely you can hear. I guess he was so into his golf game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, another comment. They don't need to, but it will be a moment for the Wheeler family when they all stand together. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. And another thing is, I love seeing Mike and Nancy team up,
Yeah.
the way they do, because of storyline reasons. You actually haven't seen, like, the brother and
Mhm.
sister team up that many times in the
Mhm.
show. So that
Yeah, that was
that was
great.
really nice.
That's probably my favorite consequence of the whole subplot with the parents getting, hurt and everything, is the fact that it brought Nancy and Mike together to have to work together to get that information. That's just such a great team up, like you said. I love that, and I love watching their interactions. And to respond to that comment, I kind of feel like, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what they do with the timeline, if they do any time jumps. But I kind of just have the feeling that that Mr. and Mrs. Wheeler are just gonna be hospitalized until the end, and then I kind
Hmm.
of think that I'm hoping that Mike and Nancy and Holly are all okay, that the family stays intact. But I don't know. I don't think that they would. First of all, I don't think that they would almost kill them, save them, and then kill them, especially because
Hmm.
Ted's not really a big character. And Karen, if she was going to be a goner, I think they would have killed her there. Um,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
yeah, unless there's a big time jump, I don't think we're going to see them until the very end of the series. I'm picturing like they're, all together at the end. I think they're kind of out of commission, but maybe they'll do a time jump, and maybe you're right that they will have like a moment when they all stand together. I think that would be really cool. I hadn't thought about that, but I think that would be really neat, especially because Nancy and Mike kept it from them for so long. And I also loved that subplot with Nancy's guilt, and kind of like, if we told them, maybe they would have been prepared. And, we did this and we were trying to protect them, but we ended up, almost losing them. Um, and yeah, I mean, maybe they will be back for the showdown. I think that would be a
Yeah.
great moment to see Karen get to be a badass again. I would I would enjoy that a lot. So yeah, I hope you're right. That would be really cool. I hadn't thought about that, but now that you've said it, I really want that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so yeah, Skill Olis
Hmm.
is saying a similar thing. Think they'll be back for the final showdown in the last
Hmm.
episode, but that's. And I also did like the stuff with Karen in the hospital bed. I like the. I mean, it was convenient for the way they were doing that ending, where you're
Hmm.
cutting back and forth, which is something similar to what they did in season 4 when they revealed who Vecna was
Hmm.
in that episode. And like you, I agree, it was a little bit predictable, and it was a little bit the characters were on the right path and then they threw up a different
Hmm.
reason and they kind of went off the path. But you know,
Hmm.
drama gotta be drama sometimes. But
Yeah.
it was a well done scene at the end
Hmm.
there, and it
Hmm.
was I did like Karen slowly writing down the name, and it makes
Hmm.
sense because she, lost use of her her
Hmm.
tubes, and yeah, it was the whole thing. So that was very well done. And
Hmm.
I will say, like later on, I'll ask you for MVP of the season so far, but
Mm.
I would say my MVP of the episode is Nancy, like
Mm.
even more so than Karen, because I think Natalia Dyer, her acting in this episode was so good. Like, the
Hmm.
scene when she's in the bathroom and she's trying to scrub up the blood, and yeah, just that
Hmm.
sense of, yeah, it's on me. This is like the aftermath, and
Hmm.
just how frantic she is. And I think it's the sort of thing where, like, in earlier seasons, she wouldn't have been capable of that because she was still quite a young,
Hmm.
inexperienced actress. And she was always good, but I think it's come to the point where she can do these bigger emotional scenes now. And I think she
Yeah.
was great in the episode.
Hmm. Yeah, she was great. I agree. I think that she uh really stepped up her game, and that the character also is just a lot more competent, and she has more like intense emotion. Of course, also the fact that the storyline has given her this very intense uh story where, her mom and dad are almost killed and she feels immensely guilty because her and Mike didn't really prepare them, I guess. That's like a very weighty, emotionally weighty storyline. So I think that it's also a combination of maybe the actress getting better, but also having less comedic and more dramatic material to work with. But I think that it worked really well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great development and
Hmm.
stakes and everything. And yeah, I mean, one of the surprise combinations of this season, I think, is Robin and Will as well. Like, I'm really liking their
Yeah.
chemistry together, and this is what you can do in a show which is like 5 seasons in now, and you do
Hmm.
have a bigger somber cast. You can mix up combinations and see
Hmm.
combinations and you haven't really seen
Hmm.
before. And like you said, because they do have this shared sort of thing over their sexuality, that's why
Hmm.
it makes sense. So
Yeah. Yeah, and
yeah,
that scene where Robin talks about the flux capacitor
it's
and
amazing.
Joyce's reaction. Oh, that's another one of my favorite scenes in the whole season because it's so hilarious. And Winona Ryder does such a good job being the oblivious mom, and and she just nails that scene. It's so good. But yeah, and I like kind of the dynamic that results between Will and Robin because of that, and Robin kind of supporting him and supporting his plan and giving him emotional support. That's great. I love that friendship that's blooming between them. You're right. That's a great combination.
Yeah, and once again, we're switching up here because I
Hmm.
do like this season. Then we're seeing Winona Ryder almost step into the Hopper role a bit, where
Hmm.
she's becoming more the mum to the wider kids, and
Hmm.
that's a fun little shake up because she's obviously quite a different character to Hopper.
Hmm.
And yeah, Robin and her nerdy stuff is just amazing. She's just hitting a 10 this season. She's
Hmm.
so good. I think the way it's going, this will be her best season because I was really
Hmm.
impressed with her when she debuted in season 3. Once
Hmm.
again, she was solid in season 4, but I think the way this season's going, it's on track to be her best
Hmm.
season, really.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm really liking Robin this season. So I've got a little thing with Nancy and Jonathan here and Steve and their whole thing, because based on this episode, I think I'm sold on the fact that Nancy and Jonathan will end up together at the end of the show. That's assuming they both survive, of course. But because my theory is now that in this episode where Steve gives some hard truth to Jonathan, like, and we're definitely going to get more of them squaring off this season, then I think that could be what plays out. Then it could be Steve with a little bit of experience dating Nancy, like giving Jonathan advice and kind of setting them both straight and, you know, giving them both good advice. And I think he might be the pearls of wisdom that kind of leads to those two ending up together at the end of the show.
Yeah, I had a completely opposite take.
Oh,
I
okay.
actually think, mostly based on that one scene where Steve wants to go to Nancy and comfort her, and Jonathan's like, no, we need to focus on the mission. Like, I understand both points of view and both decisions, but I feel like the writing implies that Steve cares more about Nancy than Jonathan in that scene. So that's what makes me think maybe her and Steve actually will end up together. Now, whether or not it's because Jonathan dies or because she just chooses Steve, I don't know. But that's kind of led me to think either that or Steve's gonna make a heroic sacrifice to save Nancy, which I would hate because I love Steve. I don't want anything bad to happen to Steve. It would break my heart. He's like my favorite. So him and Hopper. So that would just totally break my heart. But I think maybe he might die to save Nancy. I hate that idea, but that might happen. I think she could, yeah, that's like the only way I see her ending up with Jonathan after that scene is if Steve dies, saving her. Or maybe Nancy will die and Steve and Jonathan will be sad bros. Because they'll bond over their mutual loss. But I don't know. I just don't think Nancy's gonna die. I think it'll probably, if they kill any of them, it'll probably be Steve to save Nancy, because they've kind of made him a simp for her for a while. And that kind of feels like a Duffer Brothers move to just rip our hearts out in the last or second to last episode and have Steve save her. I hope not, though. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm misreading it, or that's just like a red herring, because regardless of whether or not he ends up with Nancy, I just want Steve to be okay. So hopefully he will be. Hopefully this won't be another Eddie situation. We'll see.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I think I can definitely see that. Like, I'm not strongly on that. It's just something about the scene in that episode that made me think that. But like, I was, yeah, no, it's an interesting situation, really, overall. Like, because like I was theorizing a while back, then, well, if it's Nancy who like ends up dead or something, like, could she make some sort of a sacrifice? Like, could she like, and I was thinking along the lines of she might leave stuff behind for like both Jonathan and Steve, like maybe because there's like the whole education thing with Jonathan and the way, and she's very good with both of them in that sense. Like when she was still with Steve in season 2, she was taking an interest in his education. And same with Jonathan, like last season, like, have you heard back from that college? And I was wondering if she somehow was a sacrifice, if she might leave Jonathan like a job, like set him up with a job or like something like that. And like, but it's, you know, it's, and also I thought on something you said is then maybe if by some chance Nancy does die, then maybe it could be then that's the moment that brings Robin, Steve, and Jonathan all together to like commiserate over her, you know, share memories. It's almost a cruel irony that it might take that for Jonathan and Steve to actually be friends. You know, it's sort of the way life works sometimes, I guess. But yeah, we'll have to see. But it is funny seeing this show and the way it's taken those characters, because, you know, in the early seasons, even though like I don't think the actor's the best, like I was enjoying Jonathan more. Like the stuff with Will in season 1 I really enjoyed. And the early stuff with Nancy, because they were almost like the Mulder and Scully of Stranger Things. So I was quite, and it was at the stage where I was a bit iffy on Steve's character. So it was like, yeah, it's sort of funny how this show has changed things. And yeah, definitely in that scene, Jonathan was a bit of an arse, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I like Jonathan more in the early seasons. I think I started to kind of dislike him last season, whenever he was hanging out with that guy, and I think that was, I can't remember the name. Do you remember the guy's name? Argyle, yeah. I think that was one of the best decisions that the Duffer Brothers made, was to just never mention him again. Like, not only did they not bring him back, they didn't even mention his existence. He just disappeared. No one talks about him. He just never happened. I think that was a very smart move, because he was the worst part of season 4. And I think he kind of dragged Jonathan's character down, because he just kind of came across as just not being super great. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember I was being a little put off by him, and really rooting for Steve and Nancy, not just because Steve was there, but just because I liked them a lot more. And of course I like Steve and I want him to be happy. So I agree. I feel like the last couple seasons, they just haven't done a whole lot of good stuff with Jonathan. And I think the only moment this season I really liked him was when you said, Jonathan, one point, because he was telling them to shut up so he could search for Holly and they wouldn't stop bickering. So, you liked Argyle?
Okay. There's always one. I've seen a few online, to be fair, but they're definitely in the minority. I like Cheech and Chong were a thing in the 80s. Well, they certainly were, but
man, Argyle's he's my least favorite thing about the series, actually, other than that episode where Elle goes in season 2 and she meets the other people that are like her. I don't know why, but that episode was so boring to me. I was so bored the whole time. I don't know what it was. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, I agree. Like, I think, because I did rewatch the first 4 seasons before this one to get ready, and I'll say watching that one this time around, it probably wasn't as bad as previously, but that might just be because I know it's there now. I'm used to it, but it was. No, I agree. Like, I typically don't think this show has bad episodes. Like, there's definitely storylines and certain moments I don't like, but in general, I don't think it really has a bad episode. So that sort of stands out as like a rare bad episode. I think it was just a detour we didn't need, and it was a mistake it would have been one thing if they cut between stuff in Hawkins and that stuff, but I think they needed to do that if they were gonna do it.
Yeah, I agree, and I absolutely agree. And I also just think the characters, for some reason, weren't that interesting. I don't know what it was. It just felt like a different show, and it was very. I remember thinking, I hope these characters leave very soon and never come back, and then they did. But then they bring that one girl back in this season, and I was
hang on, we'll get there. Okay, I mean, everybody knows by now. I'm assuming who's listening.
I was just like, no. But I mean, it makes sense though, maybe because they did mention all the other test subjects in season 4, so it makes sense to bring it back, and to bring that character back. So I get it. I just hope that it doesn't have a whole lot of screen time. I really enjoy the
We'll get there. We won't blow a lot just yet, because we're going to talk about that in a bit.
I'm just saying I enjoy the dynamics that we currently have, and I feel like the last season is the worst time to introduce a new character and try to like give them a big moment, I do kind of like the little new kid, the little chubby kid that's kind of an asshole, but then he becomes more likable and he works with them. I did like him, but he's a very, very small role, so I feel like that's okay. But
well, one of my ideas with that, which I'll bring up again later, but like, if they are planning a Holly spin-off, which I think is possible, I think her having a bigger role this season could be setting that up. Then I think it would be natural for Derek to have a role in that. But
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, and also Erica too. I think if they do a Holly spinoff, Erica
Mm.
will definitely be a part of it, and it'll probably have a target audience of like girls, you know. Yeah,
Oh,
like
I would watch.
mhm.
I love
Oh,
Erica.
I would
So,
too, but I feel like if they were gonna do
in
that,
general, yeah.
they'd probably yeah make it like a teen girl show. Although those girls are getting, especially Erica, she's getting to be older too. So like if they're gonna do it, I hope they're already filming it secretly because
Yeah.
she's gonna be a young adult if she's not already. I don't know. I don't keep up with their ages. Um, but yeah, I think that would be fun to have Erica and Holly have their own kind of show, especially Erica because she's so funny. So, oh yeah, never mind. I'll wait till we get to that scene. But I loved Erica's role this
Yeah.
season.
Oh, yeah.
She they gave her some great stuff to do. So yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think that's about all I was gonna say about this episode.
Yeah.
I think we've covered
Yeah,
most of
no,
it, unless you
I
have
think
something
it's a
else.
really good episode. Like all
Mm-hmm.
the stuff with the Wheelers are great. Some great horror direction, some great intrigue with Holly now becoming the focus, being
Yeah.
taken in, and the whole thing. I think my only real complaint with the episode is probably just the frustration again that, like Linda Hamilton only had one scene in the
Mm,
episode. I sort of wanted more of her this season because in the first episode she only had one scene,
mm-hmm.
and it does become a bit of a theme, but luckily by episode 4 they give us something really big to do, so that
Mm-hmm.
was. And I guess you could say the same for Max. They do kind of
Mm-hmm.
rinse and repeat the Max thing from the last. But going into the next episode, that will be interesting because, as I said
Mm-hmm.
in my thing, like her heart monitor did seem to react in that scene. So we'll talk a little bit about that in the next episode. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think those are my main complaints. That I think the Max scene was a bit repetitive, just too similar
Mm-hmm.
to the scene we got in episode 1. And
Yeah.
also, I think again, you just got one random scene with Dr. K. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Like I said, I think my only big complaint is, yeah, like you said, the Max scene. I was like, this is literally the same scene we saw in the last episode. Like, you could have, honestly, you could have just skipped it and just not paid Sadie Sink for that one episode. You could have saved yourself
Well,
some money because we don't really need to be reminded that she's still in the coma. Like, there's so much other stuff going on
well,
that. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, it's okay. I mean, this is jumping forward to something I was going to ask for the
Mm-hmm.
next episode, but okay, I'll ask it now because
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like that thing on the heart monitor, do you think that was just for the audience to show that Max is probably now coming
Mm-hmm.
out of the, or maybe coming out? Because it's a bit weird. When I saw the scene, I assumed that was really
Mm-hmm.
happening, and
Mm-hmm.
then when I watched the next episode, and obviously I kept waiting for Max to pop up, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously Lucas doesn't mention it, so I
Yeah.
thought, well, what's
I
going
definitely
on
think
here?
that's just for the audience, but they could have
Yeah,
left it out because, like you said, we're expecting something now, and they could have just left
I
it,
think it's.
or
I
yeah,
guess it's just to set up the next episode, to set up then she's obviously her return is imminent,
yeah.
but
We
it's,
all knew that though, because then otherwise they would have killed her. We all, yeah, like
yeah.
audiences are smart enough to know stuff like that. To know they're not just gonna like kill her off screen unless there's a dispute with the actor not wanting to come back. They're not. They don't do that.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, they would
yeah,
milk that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, the character's too big to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
it was like, I mean, I do like the storyline, and I do
Mm-hmm.
like that it's continued into this season, and that Lucas keeps going back to the hospital, keeps playing
Mm-hmm.
the. But you're right; it's just a little bit of repetition
Mm-hmm.
in the 2 episodes, and then
Yeah.
finally, technically at the end of the next one, and then into episode 4, we're finally getting the big stuff
Mm-hmm.
with Max.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And another thing is, if they were going to repeat it because they just want to, you know, um, keep bringing that up, they could have at least changed it up a little bit. They could have had her mom, because you know, like she's at least been mentioned before. They could have had her at the hospital and have Lucas have a scene with her, which could have been interesting because of the complex relationship Max has with her mom. That could have been
Yeah.
interesting. Like they could have just did something to change it because it really did just feel like the same scene over again. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and you wonder sometimes a little cynically if it's just because Sadie Sink's in the main cast and
Mm-hmm.
they're
Yeah.
paying her, so it's kind of like, yeah, we want to have her at least in a small role. I think
Maybe.
that's partly to do with it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I sort of think maybe in the first episode have that scene. That's fine because that's the first episode back, and you're
Mm-hmm.
re-establishing that okay, she's
Mm-hmm.
still in the coma, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe either do something a little bit more with the scene in episode 2, or just leave her out of
Yeah.
the episode.
Agreed.
But there you have it. Yeah, I was trying to think about have we seen her parents before? I guess we've seen them once because, of course, the dad was an abusive asshole,
Mm-hmm.
to Billy, and that's kind of the time we saw him, and the mother actually seemed to be okay, but
Mm-hmm.
we only got that brief scene
Yeah.
in season 2. Okay, so I always thought they were going to kill Steve in season 4. If Steve goes, I feel he has to be defending kids, maybe with Dustin. Yeah,
Yeah. I still feel like he would commit the sacrifice to save Nancy before anything else because they've really milked his love for her in
hmm
season 2 and season 4. Like they really, really milked it hard. And then this season, he's just the love interest pretty much. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting because they usually don't do that with male characters where like they're a really big character in the show and then like in one season they just get reduced to a love interest. Like they do that with women all the time, but like with male characters,
yeah,
especially fan favorite male characters, it doesn't usually happen. And I feel like maybe it's just because there's so many characters and so many plots going on. Each character only really gets one, maybe two storylines. At least so far in this season, Steve's pretty much just very focused on Nancy and simping hard for her. They've got the competition between him and Jonathan, like you said in the very first episode. They're climbing that tower, competing, both peacocking for Nancy. So that's why I think in an earlier season, especially 2 or 3, then yeah, I think Steve would, if they're gonna kill him, I hope they don't. I think they would have him die defending the kids, but because they've had him simping for Nancy for so, like I said, like pretty much since the beginning of season 4, um, I really think that if he dies, it'll be to save her. But hopefully that won't
yeah.
happen. Hopefully it won't happen at all. I'm hoping for a Steve spinoff because they keep asking the actor, how do you feel now that it's over? And like more than anyone else, he really acts like he's
Well,
over it. And I'm hoping that's misdirection. I'm hoping they're going to have a Steve spinoff and he'll be the lead. And I'm really, really hoping that his character doesn't die. And that's not why he sounds sad.
apparently, and I don't know if this is much news to anyone, but apparently
Mm-hmm.
they're having a Nancy spin-off. Like, I don't think that's
Mm.
100% confirmed, but I think
Yeah.
that's the plan. Now, I don't know if that's spoilers for her surviving. I guess they could always do a different timeline, but like maybe Nancy when she's younger or something. But I know because they've just released that spin-off novel, and it's her and
Mm.
Robin, which
Mm-hmm.
is in between season 4 and 5. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess the TV spin-off could always be that. But I don't know.
I don't know either.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Nancy, and I'd be up for checking that out. But in a way, I'd just rather smaller characters have spin-offs rather than characters
Yeah.
who have already had a proper arc on the show, and we've
Mm-hmm.
got the full run with them. So
Yeah, I agree. Can you imagine a Murray spinoff? That would be so funny.
Murray doing karate classes, teaching kids.
Just like going off on crazy adventures in every
Yeah,
episode. It's like every episode's its own contained thing. It's just his life is so crazy, and you find out, wow, Stranger Things wasn't even the craziest thing he's ever done. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, speaking of, yeah, like unexpected dynamics I never knew we needed. Joyce and Murray in season
Hmm.
4 were
Oh
hilarious.
my gosh, yes, that's one of my favorite dynamics. I mean, he's great with anyone, but yeah, him and Joyce were just so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff on the plane was so funny. Yeah, no, it's really good. Okay,
Hmm.
we got another comment. They did put out an animated trailer for Tales from
Hmm.
'85, which might be a tester for future spin-offs. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen that. Then that's, I think, coming next year. And yeah,
Hmm.
that's a bit of an old TV tradition because a lot of like older shows that like later had animated series.
Hmm.
You know, like the original Star Trek had like an animated series a little bit afterwards. But yeah, no, it was an interesting point you made about Steve in this show. And I think what's funny is like before we move on to the next episode is I think there is a bit of a pattern sometimes that even though I am invested in Steve and like I would be happy for him to get back with Nancy, it just says something that I think his bromance with with Dustin is what has really endeared him. Like that
Yeah.
stuff starting up in season 2
Hmm.
was the turning point for the character, you
Hmm.
know, because throughout season 1 I was like, I'm not sure if I like this guy. And
Hmm.
then early season 2 it was similar. I was still a little bit lukewarm. And it was
Hmm.
the moment he introduced the Farrah Fawcett hairspray and the
Hmm.
dating the tips to Jonathan, to
Hmm.
Dustin, and just him becoming this advice. And of course he got the crap beat out of him by Billy for the kids as well. So
Hmm.
it is sort of funny that sometimes it's the other stuff other than the relationship stuff that
Yeah.
endears you, because that's, I think, partly why I was into Jonathan and Nancy more than
Hmm.
Steve and Nancy in that first season,
Hmm.
because it was almost like, yeah, they're moving the plot forward, they're, you know,
Hmm.
being proactive. And so yeah,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah, I do hope we get. I mean, obviously they're gonna probably reconcile Dustin and Steve no matter what happens. Um, but yeah, I miss their friendly dynamic, and
hmm
I don't know. I was kind of like bummed. I understand why they're doing this with Dustin's character, and it'll probably have a really good cathartic moment whenever he finally processes his grief over Eddie. But I really think he's being a little bit of a dick this season, and
who, Dustin?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a little bit.
little bit,
And
yeah.
I'm really sad that he's squabbling with Steve, and I miss their dynamic, and I hope that they don't keep fighting much longer. I hope that, we get a few more heartwarming moments between them before the show's over. Cuz you're right, that is really where Steve shines, is being the kid's protector, even though they're as old as Steve was when the show started. So I mean, the characters, obviously the actors are much older.
hmm
But so like they're kind of coming into their own, and they don't really need Steve to protect her, but I still feel like that's where Steve shines, is in protecting the kids. So it's strange because
Absolutely.
it's strange because they're a little bit more equals now. But I like I said, I think that I really like their friendship, and that's where Steve shines, is in their friendship. So I hope that, yeah, we get some nice scenes between them before the show's over.
Agreed, yeah. And speaking of Dustin, one line I did enjoy going back to season episode 1, I enjoyed Hopper calling him Inspector Gadget. That was good. That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
that was good.
I grew up on Inspector Gadget, so that's a great nickname. Okay, just give me a sec. I'll just get
Mhm.
some lemonade and then we'll
Okay,
roll on to the next episode.
cool.
Okay, let's do episode 3. So halfway through. So episode 3, which might be my favorite episode of the season so far, personally. So chapter 3, it's called The Turnbow Trap. So this is written by Caitlin Snyderman, and she's actually the one who's written that novel spin-off that I mentioned a minute ago. So one of the writers, and it has a very notable director. It's directed by Frank Darabont, Oscar nominated, so of Shawshank, The Green Mile, and The Mist as well. So he's the director for this episode, and it really shows at times. So okay, so I've sort of separated the plots for this. So where are we? So okay, yeah. So shoulders enter the Upside Down. When one of them takes a pee on the wall, Hal takes a Mulder-like style leap, then he must be familiar with it. A battle breaks out, including a spectacular slow-motion double grenade throw over the wall onto the soldiers from Hopper. They capture Lieutenant Akins and question him about what's behind the wall. Elle goes inside the soldier's mind, where she follows Dr. K towards a mysterious door. 11 is convinced the military have captured Vecna, and he's behind the door. Hopper thinks she's taking a leap, and I agree. So the characters reunite in Hawkins, with the stories seemingly tying together. Joyce has some scolding words for Will and Robin. Even though the buyers agree that Mum's plan sucked, Joyce says she's still his mum and can be there for him. Robin promises to leave a note next time, which is very cute. Mike and Nancy tell the rest that Vecna targeted Holly by claiming to be an imaginary friend. Will adds that he is seeing things from Vecna's POV so that he can be an imaginary. Oh, sorry, Will seeing things from POV so he can see his next target, which is Derek Turnbull. The team devise a scheme to drug the Turnbull family using Derek as bait for the Demogorgon and implant a tracker in it to reach Holly before more children are taken. Robin has a bit too much glee at knowing where she can score some drugs. For the plan to work, they need a way into the house. Step forward Erica for the first time this season. She happens to be best friends with Derek's sister Trisha, also Lucas thought. Mike and Lucas pull Erica out of her favorite class, Mr. Clark's Science. Of course, it's official. Erica is a nerd now. She gives Lucas and Mike 57 seconds to explain what went wrong with the crawl and tells them that her friendship with Trisha is so last week. Yep, she's a teenager. When they explain the plan and she probably wouldn't have to see Trisha again afterwards, she agrees. Erica pays a visit to the Turnbows with a drugged pie in hand. Yeah, they invite her in for family dinner. Throughout the meal, Erica and Trisha swap insults, with Trisha paranoid Erica is trying to fatten her up. After the rest of the family have passed out, Erica takes matters into her own hands, with Trisha using a needle to knock her out. Later, we get a full-on... As I change things... Oh, no, there it is. Okay, let's do it. Okay. Later on, we get a full-on Home Alone style battle with the Demogorgon and traps set by the team. The highlight, in my opinion, at least, being the monster falling through a knocked out gap in the floor, landing in barbed wire and fire. That looked really cool. Things take a turn after Derek wakes up. He had to ruin it, didn't he? And the Demogorgon takes a U-turn out of the house. As Henry slash Vecna tells Holly he wants to invite Derek to the house, he leaves her alone for the day, but with gifts. This includes dress up and her favorite record, Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now. So that's the latest Stranger Things track to be plastered on my brain after this episode. Holly enjoys a sense of freedom, but is disrupted by the doorbell. At first, she thinks it's that little shit Derek, but later finds a note appearing to be left by Henry. She follows a stranger into the woods. In a twist, that person is revealed to be Max, and that's how we close the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's episode 3, the Turbo Trap. Mm-hmm. And like I think it is the best episode so far of the season. But let's have some thoughts, and let's start with the Max scene at the end. Like, what did you think when she shows up? And that was the little.
That was great. I wasn't expecting it to be Max. I'm not sure what I thought was happening. I think I was just kind of going with the flow, but I definitely did not expect Max there. So I thought that was a great way to close off the episode. And it's like, finally she's awake, you know. I mean, she's not awake, but it's like she's not just laying in a bed. Yay. So that was cool. And I also knew that her presence meant that Holly was probably going to be safe. So that's another reason why it was very exciting, because Max is now she seemed almost like a fantasy creature, the way that they kind of like tilted the camera up at her, and she's like, you know, in the fort. Maybe it's just Sadie Sink's appearance too. She looks like a fairy to me. So she almost has this magical quality. So it was such a great moment, because, you know, she's with Holly now. I feel like, you know, they just kind of made her almost like a fairy that's going to come in and save the kids, you know. Yeah, and I was excited just for her return. So it was a great moment. It was a great way to close off the episode.
Yeah, I agree. It was a nice little thing because, it was sort of unlike the end of the last episode. It was something where you thought, okay, I didn't really expect that. Like I said last time, I was, where's bloody Max? Because they teased she was like gonna come out of it like last episode, and I thought, well, why hasn't Lucas mentioned anything? And like I said, I think maybe the heart monitor was just for us, but it was So it was a nice little thing, and then it does have a bit of intrigue because it's like, well, we've got this new dynamic now with Holly and with Max. So what's going to happen now with them? So it was a nice little bite at the end of the episode. So, okay, so the reason this is my favorite episode of the 4, I think, first of all, the direction from Darabont, like, you can tell he made it really cinematic. So, as I said, some of those action scenes in the Upside Down, like particularly the slow motion, that was so badass. That double grenade over the wall from Hopper, that was so cool. Also, I think you can just tell the difference sometimes when they get like a proper like film director in, and you know, like, I really loved the colors in the Holly sequence when she was dancing around the house and things like that, dressing up, and you know, you had obviously some great direction in that big, like, as I said, Home Alone style scene, which is just fantastic. And just, you know, because sometimes where a lot of things are going on in a scene like that, it's hard to really keep track of it, but the direction really kept it all together. And it seems like that, which is some of the best Stranger Things stuff, because it's the team working together on these little schemes, and just every part of it's important. Like, if one part is thrown off, then it's not quite gonna work. So I thought that was a really well directed scene and a lot of fun to watch. So I think it's the combination of like how good some of those scenes were directed, and then with
Mhm.
some of the character stuff we got in this episode, and some of
Mhm.
the obviously Erica made her like big return, which was
Yeah.
fantastic. So
Erica
good.
was the Erica was
Yeah.
my favorite part of this episode. Oh, by far. She's so funny. I love the scene where they're trying to talk her into joining them in their plan. And she's like, they're like, Trish, you'll never have to talk to her again. She'll hate you. And she's like, why didn't you start with that? That was so funny. And the whole scene with the pie, and
So
you need to
good.
eat your pie, and then
Yeah, yeah.
she's like, you should have ate your pie. I definitely could see. I don't know how much Stranger Things merch they're planning on putting out after the show's over, but I could definitely see if this had another season, that being like on a t-shirt or on socks,
Yeah.
like the ice cream for life. That I have a pair of socks that say that, the Stranger Things
Oh,
socks.
cool, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely could see "should have ate your pie" being another iconic line. Um, yeah, I I I liked the scenes in the Upside Down. Those are actually some of the least interesting to me, though. Ironically, I'm sure those are the most
I agree.
expensive. But I'm just more interested in like the character interactions, and
Mhm.
like I said, what I love about the show is the very grounded day to day suburban life of the 80s with something supernatural. Um, and so I don't know, for some reason, them actually being in the Upside Down, I don't know, for some reason it was more interesting last season. Maybe because it was such a novel experience getting to actually enter it and see the, evil version of Hawkins. So it's not quite as mysterious now. But either way, I
Yeah.
find that those scenes are just like the least interesting to me, even though I know they're important for the plot. Um, and I love Hopper and Elle. So I mean, I loved. I don't know if it was this episode or the next one. Their little heart to heart moment, um, where they talk about compromise, and well, I don't know. Maybe they did that a couple episodes, but I did love that moment quite a bit. But like overall, it's a little bit slower for me.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I thought Erica was great in this episode. I liked the little chubby kid. Um, is this the episode where Joyce is trying to like convince him and he's kidnapped, or is that the next one?
Next one. Yeah.
Okay, I think the next one's my favorite
Right at the
episode
start.
overall.
Okay, okay.
Um, yeah, maybe the first one too, because I really love that Rockin' Robin introduction. And there's just so much great setup, but it's hard because there's just so many great moments in every episode. It's hard for me to pick a favorite, but that's good. That's good because it sucks when you're watching a show and there's just one episode that just really pulls you out. But this one, I feel like there's just consistently good humor, and they also keep the stakes really high too. So unlike last season where I felt like every time they went back to the California storyline, I was just like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over. I think that
Yeah,
everything works this season. So
yeah.
uh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a comment I was gonna make then. I think so far this is a slightly better season than season 4. I mean, I
Yeah.
think season 4 was very strong, and the whole
Hmm.
Vecna thing was great,
Hmm.
and I think they did a great job of reinventing the show once again, because I
Hmm.
think if they went with another more sci-fi type
Hmm.
season, then maybe it would have started to get a bit too repetitive.
I
So
agree.
I think the way it freshened things up was really
Hmm.
impressive in season 4. But yeah, it's weird for the first time in season 4. I think you did have a bit of a hierarchy in plots
Hmm.
where I would say the Russia stuff and the California stuff didn't feel as
Hmm.
important as the other two plots.
Yeah.
Like, like they obviously became more important by the end, but
Hmm.
for most of the season, like the L plot and the stuff in
Yeah.
Hawkins definitely felt more
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I knew the Joyce Murray stuff and the Russia subplot or storyline was not as important, but at least we had Murray and Joyce and their dynamic, which was so fun. So I never minded those scenes, even though I knew they were less important. And I was like, well, they need Hopper because Hopper's going to have an important role. Obviously, if they saved him, he's going to have an important role to play and
Sure.
everything. So I think it's fine. Um, and it was entertaining. So I wasn't ever just like, oh, let's just get away from this storyline. But I felt that way. I think it's the Argyle character more than anything. But also, yeah, it was a lot of scenes that felt kind of repetitive. So I think that, yeah, I think overall this season is more cohesive because it feels like things are like changing more. There doesn't seem to be, like you said, those very separate storylines that where they're separated. And I think the pandemic was part of the reason why they did that too. It wasn't just
Okay.
all creative
Yeah, that
decision.
makes sense.
They
Yeah.
had to quarantine and stuff, and there was a bunch of hurdles they had to do with, I think, I don't know if it's the law or if it was just trying COVID preventions or COVID precautions, but yeah, I think that was part of what made it feel a little disjointed. Um, and yeah, I feel like last season I loved the Vecna stuff and the underworld exploration a lot because it was so new and like you said, it really changed the dynamic of the show. And this season, I'm just finding the underworld stuff not quite as interesting, but I mean, it's still really good. Like I said, I think everything this season works and feels very cohesive. Um, and I'm really enjoying how they're mixing up the cast and giving us so many dynamics that are new and keeping it interesting in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not to just completely shit on season 4. I think every season in the show is really good. Um, it's just that, like I said, yeah, you're right with the different storylines last season. The California one kind of dragged. So
Yeah, no, I mean we're obviously like gushing
mhm.
fans, but it's like, yeah, it's to me there isn't a weak season, like, or
Yeah.
there isn't a bad season per se.
Mhm.
There are storylines along the way I would do a bit different or certain
Mhm.
things, and we both agree on that season 2 episode. And
Mhm.
I think maybe overall season 2 is the weakest season, partly because of that episode, partly because I remember it being a little bit of a slow start that season. But
Mhm.
like, if you're still comparing it to a lot of episodes of TV, it was still a
Mhm.
fun season to watch. And
Yeah.
it's, of course, the season that introduced Max, so her debut was great. And,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I don't want to sound too much like a gushing fanboy, but like that's just my personal opinion. I don't
Mhm.
think any of the seasons have been bad, and I think
Yeah.
this show has done a great job of growing the characters, and
Yeah.
that's part of the big thing about it for
Yeah.
me.
And not to get too far away from season 5, but what I loved about season 2 was that Will was sick again. I mean, he was instead of being missing, he was sick. And like Joyce was so scared that she went to like the government scientists and stuff, like fix my son. Cause that's every adult's worst fear, besides your child being missing, is your child being sick and they have a supernatural illness and there's a regular medicine's not gonna do anything. So that whole storyline with Joyce was probably like her best season in terms of dramatic acting, because even though season 1 is when he was missing, like that one felt a little bit more. I don't know. It's just scarier whenever you see your son having like the seizures and all that stuff that was going on, and like having her reaction in real time to Will being sick. So I feel like season 2 was a lot more serious than some of the other seasons. I feel like 3 was definitely very lighthearted and comical compared to season 2, even with that sad ending with Hopper. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because they retconned it. So, like, immediately they were like, just kidding. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so that's why I like season 2. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick a weakest season. I think for me it was probably 4, but like I said, it's just the California parts. So overall, I just don't think, yeah, I don't think there's really a weak season. Um, I
No,
just,
I would agree, and I think
yeah.
this is a great example of a really good binge watch show where, like,
Mm-hmm.
on rewatches, it's so easy to watch and
Mm-hmm.
just. And I think when you know where it's going and you've got a history of the characters, that only makes the binge watch on a rewatch even more
Yeah.
easy to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, actually, speaking of season 3, I've said it is my favorite season, and
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
stand
fun.
by that. But it was, even though it is a lighter season, like overall and more colorful. Like the invasion of the Body Snatcher storyline is one of the darkest of the shows. Like that's, I mean, some of that is black humor, which I quite enjoy, but it's also really dark. Like that scene at the end of one episode with like Billy and the girl he works with at the pool when they're basically like killing her family or like certainly beating them up. I think they kill or certainly take over their bodies. Like that seems really dark. But yeah, love season 3. Okay, Fleck's here. Hello, Fleck.
Hello.
Welcome to the stream. Good to have you. How are you? I'm guessing that says, yeah, we're good. We're going all over the shop, but that's kind of what we do with Stranger Things. But we're having a lot of fun reliving season 5 so far. And we encourage your comments as well. So yeah, I do actually agree with you about the Hopper and Al stuff in this episode in particular being like maybe the weakest stuff. Like that just felt like the stuff. You're right. There wasn't as much focus. It wasn't as much fun. It was a little bit more plodding. And also, did you think some of Al's leaps were a bit much? Like it was a bit because he peed against the wall. You know, that's why he's familiar with the wall, and that's why. And
that was a little bonkers. Yeah.
Oh, it must mean Vecna's behind there, and
especially with a character that can read minds, like with her little bath thing. Like, sorry, I just saw the comment. Hi to Madison only.
What? Okay, you're banned, Fleck. I'll take your money for the month, but you're banned. What the hell? Pretty hostile.
Oh man, I totally lost track. I was saying Elle, yeah, like they could have expanded her mental mind reading abilities or something, you know, that would have made a little more sense. Than you're right, like, oh, he peed on the wall, so he knows all about the wall. Like that's some strange detective work there. But yeah, it was I mean, I love any Hopper Elle interaction. So I mean, I was glad that they had scenes together. So
yeah, and fair play to Hopper. Then he does, you know, he sort of calls it out, and it's like, yeah, you are, and it does sort of make sense. It makes sense that she's so desperate at this point. She's so invested in this stuff, then she sort of wants it to be true. So I think that's the reason. But it's just funny. Oh, he peed on a wall, and you know, that's quite case closed. Imagine using that in court as part of your evidence.
It's like, is Elle a dog? Is she like, he peed on the wall, he owns the wall?
Yeah. So that stuff was a little bit plodding, and you know, like the whole thing, we just get. I won't complain about Linda Hamilton again because at least she gets a big part in the next episode.
Yeah. I actually didn't recognize her. I remember her being announced. I was excited, and then it was so long ago I completely forgot she was in the season. It wasn't until the last episode my mom was like, "Hey, that's Linda Hamilton." I was like, "Oh my gosh." And then I was excited. So I didn't have that same issue because I just didn't recognize her. I was just so engaged with everything going on. I didn't even try to figure out who she was, even though she looked familiar. So yeah, I had a very different experience, but I agree. It is kind of a shame they kind of just waited till, you know, several episodes in to really do something with her. But again, I think that's just because there's so much going on. And who knows how much they filmed and ended up cutting. So,
well, yeah, because one thing I read about her in an interview, I read that she was pretty much going into retirement. And so I think that Terminator sequel she was in like a few years back, Dark Fate, was the last thing she'd really been in. So I think I read that, and then she got the call and she's like, okay, I'm a big Stranger Things fan, so I'll be in it happily. But it was like, yeah, no, I don't know. It is tough because there's so many characters at this point, and I definitely liked her first scene in that episode, in the first episode, because that was a good, like, snappy scene to kind of sum up who the character was. And it's just the next two episodes, like, it just feels like, okay, just one random scene just to keep the plot moving, remind you she's still there, and then the big stuff again. And I just wonder also if sometimes this stuff plays a little bit more slow when you're watching it like this in fragments, rather than when you're watching it as a complete whole when the whole thing has come out.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a bit of that as well.
Yeah, but I agree. I kind of think maybe they should have just waited an episode to introduce her, and then maybe it wouldn't feel quite so, okay, here's the episode reminder that she exists. I don't know if we had to necessarily introduce her when you've got so much other stuff going on. But I don't really remember the introduction scene that well. So, because there's, like I said, there's just so much going on.
Yeah, like she's doing like an experiment, and she has that line, as I said, about Al, where she says, like, people are dying, I need the girl, and she has a quick bit of humor which I quite like, cause I can't remember exactly what it was, but she kind of mocks like the guy for being a bit too serious, and so
I guess they kept it because they needed to let us know why Elle was in hiding. That would make sense. So that it seemed like for plot reasons why they wanted to include it early on. So, but yeah, I think you're right. I think they were just like, we got to stick her in every episode so you don't forget about her. Because there's so much going on, people would. So, yeah. They should have just made each episode 2 hours long and just included everything. Nobody would have complained.
Well, it's just, I think it is episodes 2 and 3 more with her that I have the complaints. I'm happy with her intro scene in the first one, and then I think definitely happy with what they do in the fourth one. And then I think she is going to come back as well, because I'm pretty sure I've seen her in the trailer for so we are going to get more as well. So that's exciting stuff. But yeah, the whole Turnbull plot was so entertaining. Like I was just cracking up with the family slowly passing out, especially the father, because he does it in slow motion, and then Derek as well, because he was laughing, and then suddenly he passes out. That was some good slapstick stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely the highlight of the episode, and one of my favorites of the season. It's just such a great moment of, that kind of silly suburban, like I said, domestic meeting the bigger plot, because they're doing this to save him from Vecna. So, like, it's a good way to kind of add some silliness to a really serious plot line, which I was impressed, again, that they did that the whole season. I was so impressed that they didn't lose that element and just get too serious. They did a great job with that, and that's a great scene.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so I think we're about ready to move on to episode 4, the final episode of this part of the season 5. So this episode is called Sorcerer. It's written by Paul Dichter, and it's directed by the Duffers once again. So here we go. Hopper and Eleven infiltrate the military base. At one point, it looks as if Hopper is going to sacrifice himself by strapping a bomb vest on and walking through the base. His life flashes before him. He later returns, telling Eleven he has access to the door. They finally come face to face with Dr. K, and Linda Hamilton is great, going full-blown ice-cold villain. Hopper is trapped by a monster, being controlled by the temperature by K. Eventually, Eleven saves him. They get to see what's behind the door, and it's Callie, the one remaining Hawkins lab subject, and Eleven's lost sister from season 2, complete with flashback, in case you forget who she was. Okay. So Max explains to Holly that they are trapped inside Vecna's memories, nicknamed Comatose, that he is a monster and cannot be trusted. We get flashbacks of Max's journey ever since dying briefly at the end of season 4. This includes a flashback to Hawkins High School in the 1950s and a teenage Joyce. She also reveals a cave, which is a safe place to hide from Vecna because it represents a bad memory. Joyce attempts to calm down Derek. Down by explaining that they are not monsters. It's the government and Vecna who are monsters. Of course, Derek doesn't buy it and attempts to escape. A Demogorgon bursts into the barn. Dustin, Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan chase it away in a car and end up inside the Upside Down. Nice. The military detain children in Hawkins they believe could be victims, basically to use them as bait to draw out Al, is their plan with that, basically. Will has a vision of Holly and 3 other children being restrained by Vecna's tentacles. Almost said testicles. Freudian slip.
Wow, what a difference.
That would be even more perverse.
Oh my gosh.
This is explained as a spider effect feeding off each one, with Derek finally convinced the gang uses him to get inside the base and close to the other kids. Robin's pop culture knowledge shines again as she lays out the Tom, Dick, and Harry plot from The Great Escape. Dick being the key part, remember, people. This leads Lucas and Mike to dig in underground tunnels up into the bathroom area to try and smuggle out the kids. Most of them escape, but the soldiers capture Will, Joyce, and Derek. Vecna and an army of Demogorgons burst into the Upside Down, kidnapping Derek and other kids, including ones being smuggled away by Murray and Robin in a van. Before retreating into the Upside Down, Vecna tells Will he intends to use the children he calls perfect vessels to reshape the world. Will then unlocks psychic powers to save Mike, Lucas, and Robin from being killed by the Demogorgons. And that is the big cliffhanger at the end of this part of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there's only one place to start, and you did mention it earlier, but what are your thoughts on the whole Callie reveal being the thing behind the door?
Oh yeah, it was a little anticlimactic for me. That's the only part of this whole episode that was like, oh. I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense, that they are bringing that storyline back and, trying to tie it in to the main story. But I was like, man, I was not a fan of that episode. But like I said, they did bring back the labs and all the other subjects in season 4, so it makes sense they'd bring it back yet again. And yeah, I don't know what I thought it was Vecna. I thought Vecna was going to be on the other side. I thought it was maybe his physical body or something the government had, and maybe he was mentally able to. Maybe that's why they couldn't find him. So I thought that would have made sense if Vecna had been behind the door. That's why they could never find him in all their searches, because they had his body, but like his mind was somewhere else, and they had to do something else. Like Voldemort, you got to just do something else before the body can be destroyed. The government had him contained, but not destroyed. That's kind of what I was hoping for. So the Callie reveal was like, oh yeah, I remember her. She hasn't been mentioned in 2 seasons for a show that loves to remind us of things. Like she hasn't been brought up since that episode because nobody liked it. But we're gonna make her the big reveal. Yeah, that's the only thing that I was like, oh. But luckily there was so much other stuff going on that I didn't think about it too much. Yeah, so that was fine. Okay. But I was just like, I was a little anticlimactic. And I was also like, that's strange. It's strange that they're bringing her back now, but
Yeah.
it's okay. It was all right. I
Okay.
wasn't
Well,
impressed, but it's
no,
fine.
no, no. I can understand the anticlimactic part. That's probably a fair reaction. Yeah, I think I'm less negative than you. I do think
Mm-hmm.
there is some logic to it being
Mm-hmm.
her, and
Yeah.
one of the things I think is probably like you could sort of retcon it as the government wanted her because she arguably has similar powers to
Yeah.
Elle. So you could
Yeah.
sort of read it as they wanted to use her powers to
Mm-hmm.
battle Elle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm similar to you on that season 2 episode, and it's one of those things we're never going to know the truth of it. We're never going to know if they always intended to bring her back at some point, if
Mm-hmm.
they at one point wanted to do a spin-off,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess they could still do now, like they're sort of
Mm-hmm.
reintroducing her. But you're right, it is very weird, and they've waited this long.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to be fair, like I probably liked her more than the other characters in that episode. Like as I said, the gang were like the worst. They were very boring, but
Mm-hmm.
like she was the better of the two. But yeah, it was just a wasted thing all round, and it
Mm-hmm.
didn't really at the time sell me on her character. But
Yeah.
I guess that doesn't necessarily impact this storyline that much. I think they can
Mm-hmm.
still do something interesting with the character now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I definitely think she's gonna have to team up with Elle and Will at some point,
Hmm.
probably to defeat Vecna. And they might have to find other supernatural bodied people, maybe even Holly, because she was targeted by Vecna. Maybe she's got some of the magical Vecna, whatever it is that makes them supernatural. Um, she's got that. Maybe she's got that too now. So I definitely think that she'll be teaming up with Elle, um, and that will be kind of her purpose for bringing her back. I don't see them doing anything else. Or bringing her back for any other reason except probably a team up. And I think you're right though. The government was probably like, "Oh, she can fight Elle or she can fight whoever. Maybe we can use her to destroy the Upside Down." I don't know, but they
Yeah.
probably could have given us a little more clarity on like what the government's goal is ultimately. But I guess that's the mystery though that keeps us interested. So never mind, I take that back.
Uh,
I immediately take that back. I do hope that we find out soon, because there's only like 4 episodes left, right?
think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. So
3 in the next batch and then the
yeah,
finale.
I
Yeah.
hope we find out soon. And I'm assuming the government, even though they're using the kids as bait and they're evil,
Mhm.
um, still ultimately probably have the goal of wanting to contain the Upside Down world. Like I don't think they're mad scientists. I think that they probably just want to stuff that genie back in the bottle. Um, and they're doing some shady things to do that, but I think that I don't know if they'll end up doing any kind of team up with the government or if it'll just be like an obstacle. I feel like it'll probably still mostly be an obstacle, but
Yeah.
yeah, but I do think that I'd like to know kind of what the government's up to
Okay.
in the next
Yeah.
episode or
Little
so.
bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fair. Like, I think it's that fine line of like, you don't have to like explain every little thing.
Mhm.
Like some things, it's good to leave open a little bit,
Mhm.
and you can all have your own takes on it. But yeah, no, that's fair. That's just something I thought of, and
Mhm.
I'm glad also that you mentioned the prospect of her, Will, and maybe Callie. You know,
Mhm.
I think that could be a really satisfying thing, those 3 different characters, because I think people have speculated then this being the last season, you have to finally maybe have some big Will and 11 stuff together. So
Yeah.
you could obviously add Callie to the mix.
Yeah.
But
And yeah, I definitely think Kelly will be part of it. And just a little fun side note, if those of you haven't seen Millie Brown's interview where she talks about how do you feel about Will having powers, and she's like, well, when I first found out, I was like, oh, we're just giving anybody powers now,
yeah.
all willy nilly. And then she was like, actually, I was very excited, and I told the actor. She was like, "We're both going to be superheroes." So I thought that was so cute. I highly recommend watching that interview. I don't remember what show she was on though. It was just a short clip, but I thought that was so cute. I love their real life friendship. It's so adorable. So I definitely hope we get a couple of scenes between them,
Yeah.
because they are such good friends in real life. So I love to see that dynamic. And like I said, definitely think they're going to team up. It makes sense. Um, and yeah, I can't wait for that. That's going to be so cute, knowing
Mhm.
that they're such good friends in real life.
Yeah, well, another thing with Callie, I wondered what you thought about this is, do you think, because she does have that little bit of a grudge with Eleven
Mm-hmm.
from season 2, because
Mm-hmm.
11 decided to go back to
Mm-hmm.
Hawkins, do you think that'll come back to play? Like, they could do a
Maybe.
scenario where maybe for their own sakes they work together, but
Yeah,
then maybe later on that you might get an Elle versus Callie battle.
that seems like the best way to add dramatic tension with this character is to have her have a grudge against Elle. It would be kind of boring if she was just like, "Thanks for saving me. I'm your friend now." So I agree. I definitely think that'll probably happen. She might even blame Elle. Like, if you'd been with us, maybe everyone else in the gang was killed or something. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
who knows what's happened to her since then. So she might actually blame Elle, and that would be interesting. So yeah, they might have a little tiff, a little fight before she joins with them. That would be interesting. Yeah. Look, I'm not super into the character, but I do
No.
think that would make sense for the character. So it's fine. Not every new character can be like Eddie or,
Mm.
Robin, just like immediately loved. And the
Or
fact that,
Argyle.
yeah, the fact that she is a more serious character is harder to make her so likable in a cast that has so many super likable characters. Oh yeah, or Argyle. Sorry, it just snapped that
Yeah,
you were being coy there. Yeah,
yeah.
or sarcastic. Yeah, yeah, or Argyle. God, just
Genius.
I mean, I feel bad for the actor because he got so much hate, and he's just doing his job. But it's the
Yeah,
character. The character is just, oh, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
absolutely.
But I don't feel that way about Callie. I think she's okay, so it's like, it's fine. Like, I feel like it makes sense for the plot that they're probably gonna, like what Lucas was telling Max about how we all have to be together, so
Hmm.
you need to wake up because we're not going to be able to defeat this without you. I think that she's part of that. Like, she's part of, we have to bring everybody together. Um, so yeah, I feel like for plot reasons she's important. But I think it would be interesting though if she had a little beef with Elle before joining them. That would make her more interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's a little like certain things this season. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a wait and see. Like, it's definitely a bit weird they're choosing now to bring her back, and
Mm-hmm.
you sort of wonder why they're
Mm-hmm.
choosing now to do it. But like, again, I think we have to give it the benefit of the doubt and see where
Mm-hmm.
they lead with it. Because as we've discussed, there's definitely potential in her storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost the sort of thing you can do with TV a little bit more than you can do with a film. Is there is
Yeah.
that flexibility over multiple seasons to,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if something's not quite clicking originally, you can sort of fix it a little bit later on. And
God, what if they bring Argyle back?
Argyle's the key at the end.
They're like, oh, we need one more person to defeat Vecna. We're just not there. And Argyle just pulls up in his car, smoking a fucking joint, like, hey, I'm here.
Because of course,
Oh.
I forgot one of the funniest things in this episode is Holly, not Holly, Erica consistently calling Derek a dipshit, and putting him in line. That's so funny. Like, and Joyce
Yeah.
trying to big him up. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe if that dipshit can help save the world, maybe Argyle can as well. He's like,
Yeah.
he's the biggest dipshit. So
Yeah, and to be fair,
maybe that's what it takes.
um, I think if we'd had smaller doses too, maybe it would have been
Yeah.
okay. But just overall, just not a fan. So, yeah, God. I feel like now that I've said it, I kind of feel like they probably will bring it back. Is that why the last season costs like $400 million or something? I'm like, we're gonna bring every actor that's ever had a cameo back. We're gonna bring even the dead people are coming back. Freaking and we're also gonna just I don't know. I looked at that budget. I was like, how do you spend that much money? I don't know. I mean, I know that like a lot of the actors that started off as nobodies are really famous now, but I still feel, and I know there's special effects, but it still feels like a lot. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the next 4 episodes are going to be crazy. And Skiltonius mentioned the last episode is 2 hours, so it's really kind of like 5 episodes.
Minutes, double up. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it'll be the next few episodes that make us see why it has an almost Avatar like budget. But yeah.
Well, I think this episode you could start to see it. Like this episode had the epic feel, all the stuff going on at the base.
Yeah. I just for some reason I feel like last season felt bigger in some ways. Yeah. Maybe because we just got introduced to the upside down world, but I feel like that scene in the Russian prison with the Demogorgon and all that feels like that would have been really expensive, but maybe not. I don't know.
It's always interesting, and it's funny to think about TV nowadays costing that much. And like, because even the start of the show, like, I would be interested to know what the budget was in season 1, because I'm guessing compared to some shows it was reasonably high budget, and obviously getting someone like Winona Ryder, the fee for her probably would have been pretty big. But it's like, I think even so, like, the season 1 budget compared to what it became later is probably like night and day. And and also I do want to praise the effects in the show, because so many modern effects are like really bad, and like and I think there's the odd one that looks a bit off, but it is only really the odd one. So I think the effects in this show across the board are pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that they're great effects. It's just the budget's still just like, that's crazy. That's a crazy amount. But I don't know a whole lot about special effects. Maybe there's certain things I take for granted that are a lot more expensive than I would think. But like I said, it just feels like they did more with less in the earlier seasons. But also the cast, I'm sure that added to the budget. And then because a lot of them are really famous now. And then who knows what we're going to see in the next 5 episodes, 5 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice then as we've gone on, the scale has gone up, and it does feel like this big event type thing. And I also think I like that they've made the episodes longer, because that sort of makes up for the fact that they are shorter seasons, and you are getting that extra time with the characters. So it is. And so I agree, but they're glad they're tying up loose story threads. So that's about Callie, and the finale, which of course is going to be in some cinemas in the US, 2 hours 5 minutes at least. So Fleck is enjoying the chat, so that's good. So like, it's a really good episode. And again, I was getting vibes that, because maybe if I have one nitpick, I mean maybe 2, but like I think one is that it feels a little bit like they're setting up the spin-off, like for Holly and Co. Because when Joyce kept talking Derek up, I think, well, is she talking to the audience? It's always like, but then I thought about it later, and I think it works with what they're doing in the episode, like the theme of the episode, because you've got Mike giving Will that inspirational speech where he's kind of saying, you are important, you've got powers, and I think he calls him like a wizard and that kind of thing. You have Joyce doing the same for Derek. And you sort of have Max doing it with Holly as well, because
Mhm.
Max is kind of saying, yeah, this is the truth. Like, Vecna's the villain. He's the one manipulating things. So so it's a little bit of a theme in the episode. So I
Yeah.
think it all ties together. But yeah, that just stood out a little bit. That maybe if they are setting Derek up for a spin-off or something, then Joyce was a bit talking for the writers a little bit, where she kept,
Yeah. Yeah,
bigging him
maybe.
up.
I didn't think of it that way. I was just, I don't know. I just didn't. But I agree that, yeah, maybe some of that was happening. I did love the scenes between him and Joyce where he's like, "You're kidnapping me," and she's like, "No, we're trying to save you," because Joyce is just like the sweetest, one of the most
Yeah.
uh, yeah, like, she's such a mom. She's such a mom, and she really cares about him. And it's just so funny. Like, man, she's had a lot of sort of unintentional comedy scenes, with the flux capacity, and then this, where she's just trying so hard to just do the right thing and just, oh my goodness. Yeah. So I thought that was hilarious. Joyce the kidnapper.
Yeah.
And her
Yeah.
trying to reason with him and all of that. There was one point where I was watching the episode, I was like, just let him die.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not.
I like him now, but I was just like, just let him die. He's a dick.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I'm on the fence with Derek at the moment.
Mhm,
I don't know. At the moment, I'm not sure yet if the actor's
mhm,
that good.
mm.
I think he could end up just being an annoying little brat, like a little bit
Yeah.
one note. But
Yeah, I'm hoping if they keep him or if they do a spin-off that they make him nicer, that was just the introduction. Because they do that a lot where they'll introduce a character as maybe being a jerk. Like they did that with Steve, they did it with Billy, they did it with so many characters. And then they become likable later. So maybe that's what they're doing. But yeah, I agree. If he goes back to kind of being, because he was very douchey at the beginning. So if they go back to that, then I kind of hope he doesn't stick around because you gotta make the character somewhat likable. So
yeah, you've got to make them likable, or at least like interesting in how they're
hmm
douchey and like
yeah.
how they come across and
hmm
serving a purpose in some way. But yeah. Yeah, I think as the episode went on and he became part of the plot and everything, I got a little bit more into him.
hmm
Yeah, I did enjoy him having the walkie-talkie in his lunchbox. That was a
Yeah.
nice little touch. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know you said you thought this was the best episode of the season. So do you
I
want to
mean,
talk a little bit
oh,
more about why?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like every episode had its moments. Like I said, Erica and the dinner scene, last one. I think episode 2, I'm even though you did the recaps, they're still a little blurry because I binged them all like at the
Sure.
same time. Karen Wheeler's big moment was season 2, right? I mean, not season 2, episode 2, right? Sorry.
Episode 2. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then season 1 had, the Rockin' Robin. It had a lot of fun scenes with, Steve and Jonathan climbing the thing. It was just such a great introduction. And of course, I'm just so excited that it's back. So that also adds to how great it feels for the first episode. So it's hard to pick an exact favorite, but I guess I would say the first episode and the last episode. But it's a close
Okay.
it's a
That's
close
funny.
it's a close call
It
because they're
is a
all
close
just
call.
so good in different ways. And they all have really spectacular moments. So, but yeah, what I liked about the finale, I loved the scene with Will. There'd been theories about him having powers, and I was kind of on the fence about whether or not I wanted it to happen. But when I saw it, I was like, that is really cool. He reminds me so much of Daniel Radcliffe. I get big time Harry Potter vibes from him.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Never thought of that
yeah,
before, yeah.
once or twice I was like, he's Harry Potter. He's fighting Voldemort.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that
true.
was fun. I think that they executed it really well. I think that part of what makes sold me on it was because it was just done, it was just executed great. Um,
Yeah.
and I love the scene with Hopper and you think he's gonna die, and I started to really freak out because I was like, it's the last episode of this segment, and I had a theory that there was going to be a major character death in the last episode, and that's why they were doing the break to like let us process it or something. Um, and
Yeah.
so whenever Hopper was in
Merry
there,
Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. And I thought that, and I told myself, I was like, okay, if they were going to kill him, they would have killed him in season 3. They're not going to kill him. They're not going to kill him. They wouldn't have spent an entire season bringing him back to the group just to kill him this fast. Like they're good writers. They're not going to do that. That would be so anticlimactic. And I was telling myself this constantly while he was in there, and I still was just like, oh my god, they're gonna kill him. Like I was freaking out so bad. And then of course Elle being right there and like, being so upset also adds to that feeling of me being upset, because I'm just like, not only do I love Hopper and not want him to die, but I want Elle. I don't want her to lose him. Yeah.
Like figure, yeah.
Especially after she already lost him kind of in season 3. So I was like, they just can't do that to us. They can't. If there's anybody that should be safe, if there's anyone, it should be Ellen Hopper. Like they've already been through way too much. No one wants to see either of them die. Not even for dramatic tension. Pick somebody else. So so that was so tense. That was one of the most tense scenes I think in the entire series for me, because despite everything, despite all that little pep talk, I was like, this is it, he's gonna die, oh my god. And it was such a relief when he didn't. And I'm gonna be so mad if they kill him. But anyways, I'm hoping that since they've done the psych out so many times with Hopper, that means he's got to be safe.
Safe. Okay.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. It would just be so devastating if they actually did it, especially after all the close calls and the teasing and stuff. I really hope they don't.
Yeah, but all that stuff with Linda Hamilton was really good. Like her
that too.
Full-on villain. That's fine. And I just loved the science of it with that monster, as I said, like the way it kept strangling Hopper, but like she was playing with him, and like she's really vicious and manipulative, because it's almost that thing of, if you just kill someone straight out, then at least you're putting them out of their misery. But the way she was playing with him was so sinister and evil. And I just love the science of that, of it. When the temperature goes hot, that's when it reacts more. That was really cool.
That was really cool. And I agree. Yeah, she's a great villain. I think that she had a lot of moments to shine, and that was also really great. What else about this episode? And the scenes with Max and Holly, there was a few more too. I believe, and those were great. I liked that. I liked learning where Max had been. It was such a big mystery, and such a cliffhanger last season. So I really liked all of that, and her talking about where she'd been, and her kind of being a mentor to Holly. So that was great too. And I like Derek kind of randomly teaming up with them. I didn't think that was going to happen. And he ended up being kind of likable, kind of had his little moment. But I really think the last episode is where the Vecna stuff got interesting. The first 3 episodes, I was more invested in, okay, where have these characters been? What are they doing with them? The comic parts. I was interested in, like, where is Vecna? Because that's kind of a big question. Of this season so far, is where is he hiding? First of all, why is he hiding? Because last season, when the upside down opens up, I'm like, oh damn, he's about to rise out of the thing and take over the earth, like Satan. And he just seems like this big, all powerful entity, and now he's hiding. And I know that they had their theories about why, but we still don't really know for certain why. I mean, obviously he's probably getting some kind of power from the kids he's kidnapping. Otherwise, why else would we be doing it? But we still don't know for sure what's going on. And so I thought that was kind of, they've been dropping breadcrumbs, in the first 3 episodes, but in this one we get more. of that. And I think that was satisfying.
Mhm.
And yeah, like I said, the scene with Will too was just so cool and so
Yeah, no,
unexpected.
it's very epic and
Yeah, it
great
was a great,
visual. Yeah.
yeah, it was a great cliffhanger. And to me, that felt like one of the most cinematic moments of the
Oh
season so
yeah.
far.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I'm hard pressed to pick a favorite, but if I had to
Mhm.
say that, those are the biggest strengths of the finale, in my opinion. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fair.
they
Yeah,
they def.
it
Oh,
sorry, it's all right. No, I
I
was
was
just gonna no, go on. So no, it's
I was
fine.
just gonna say they really did it, considering how many tense moments are in the season throughout, like the scene with Karen Wheeler and everything. They really still managed to find a way to step it up for this cliffhanger episode to make us really, really eager for the next part.
Yeah.
By making so many scenes, like the scene with Hopper and Elle, and the scene with the kids trying to escape from the government, and the scene with Will. There's all these really tense, tense scenes that they saved for the last episode. And I think it worked really well. I think that's probably maybe why that episode seems to be the most memorable to me, because they just really upped the stakes really dramatically. And I think
Okay.
everything that they did worked. So,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what's good about this discussion is you're giving me lots of ideas for like other videos and
Mm,
things we can talk about. Because, when the show's all said and done, it makes sense to reflect a little bit
yeah.
and discuss. And like favorite episodes can
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
be a talking point because there's been
Mm-hmm.
some bangers. And
Mm-hmm.
because I do know that Sorcerer is the most viewed episode I think ever, and also
Mm,
it's the highest rated on IMDb, and that doesn't really surprise me because I
mm,
think we're obviously ramping up to the big finale, and
yeah.
this is sort of the mid-season finale, so that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really surprise me. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's just funny because like I'm sort of the opposite to you. Like the middle two episodes are my
Mm-hmm.
favorite,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
the first and the last. And the
Yeah.
last one I really enjoyed. I just don't quite enjoy it as much
Mm-hmm.
as maybe it's just because you get a bit more of like them working as a gang and different things in
Mm-hmm.
the other two. And
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot of strong stuff in episode
Mm-hmm.
3, and like, I think one was a good setup episode, but that's probably why that's maybe my least favorite because it is obviously a
Mm-hmm.
lot of setup, like before you get into
Mm-hmm.
the meat. But that's fair. Like you, I don't really think any of the episodes have been weak so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and another really like nice scene, which was in like the trailer for this season, was the mother and daughter thing with Joyce and Will in this episode. That was like a really
Mm-hmm.
nice scene. And that's when, again, they're reflecting on the past. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something you now can do now that Will's old enough to have this discussion with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Then he actually gets to be a bit of a comfort to her because she's saying how a bit like
Mm-hmm.
Nancy having regrets in the other episode, like Joyce is
Mm-hmm.
saying, all those years ago, I regret. Then it took
Yeah.
me so many hours to realize you were missing.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, that's something which parents in many ways can only relate to. And but I do like them. Will can reassure and says, "Yeah, it wasn't your fault, Mum. Like, there's nothing you could do."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great moment. And it's also a really good way to bring the series full circle by reminding us of season one. I think that
Hmm.
that's part of what makes a really good last season is the callbacks and bringing it all together and making every season feel like it was important to the big picture. And yeah,
Hmm.
I think that was great. That was a great moment for Will's development and Joyce, and also for just creating that full circle feeling. Yeah.
Pardon. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we're wrapping up soon, but like I
Mm-hmm.
have like some questions and some more thoughts, but like I was thinking about the Max stuff because I do like this new direction they're taking with her character, and it was always that thing of, well, people moaning a little bit like should they have killed her off like
Mm-hmm.
at the end of last season, but it was always wait and see, because like these writers do have a good history of turning it into something good. And I think that is the most important thing. Like, where is it leading? And
Yeah.
yeah, I do like this new direction, and I sort of had an idea really. Then, like, are they setting Max up to be like a sacrifice? Because I wondered if she could have a thing where it becomes her destiny to like help kids out in like this dream world. So like that maybe she could help Holly escape, but then Max old. I mean, I think they would have to have a moment with her and Lucas at least, otherwise that
Yeah.
feels a bit unsatisfying. But I
Yeah.
wondered if maybe that could be a thing.
Maybe. I mean, who knows where they're going with all of this? Because if you've known the really crazy conspiracy theories, oh, it's all just a D&D game and it's gonna end with the boys playing the game. I'm like, that better not freaking happen. I'm all for big plot twists, but no, not that one.
Yeah, I
so,
mean, Stranger Things isn't the sort of show to do something like that. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But I do think that we have it'll be hard to know what each character's destiny is going to be without knowing the bigger picture. And I kind of wonder, yeah, like if the Upside Down is still going to exist, and I think it will if they're doing spinoffs. The finale is probably going to be about containing it permanently. And I think that, yeah, Max could maybe have that role. If she does, I don't see her being alone, though. I think, I don't know, there's maybe some way
Yeah.
Lucas will be able to visit or someone else
Yeah.
will go with her. I don't see it just her, that being, or maybe like, all of them will be able to go and have roles in the Upside Down. Like, who knows? Who knows what
Yeah.
the end picture is going to be? Like, if they all, take on their D&D characters, because they're kind of doing that with Will being the sorcerer. And I don't play
Yeah.
D&D, so I don't know if Max is kind of taking on like a good bard or a white mage role, but it kind of seems like there might be something there. I don't know, but maybe they're doing something with that. Possibly. So I don't know. But I definitely don't think they're gonna kill Max. Like, she'll be alive in some way, because I don't think they would have, again, like with Hopper, I don't think they would have teased her death so much and kept her in a coma for several episodes just to be like, and now she's dead. So, because that's anticlimactic. So yeah.
Yeah, but like maybe in the way I'm thinking, it's not so much than she's dead. It's just then she's destined to live out the rest of her days, and maybe that's just a little bit of a sacrifice. Maybe she just sees it as, this is my purpose now. Because I also like if that's the way it goes, there's something about Max's past with Billy and the fact that he was obviously, until he redeemed himself a little bit at the end, he was like an abusive brother. So there's almost a link there where she's now helping out other kids who have been like abused a bit, and in her own way she's been abused by Vecna a bit, but so
yeah, that's one way to put it. She was a bit abused by Vecna. He's a little,
just a tad.
he's a little mean.
He's a sweetheart, really.
Yeah. So, I agree. I think that would be kind of a good ending for her character. I don't like the idea of her, especially because, like I said, when we saw her, I'm like, she's like a forest fairy. She feels so mystical, like something about the way they shot it and everything. She just feels like a fantasy character. So yeah, maybe that would be a really good end to her character. I just don't want her to be alone, because she was in a coma. She's all by herself in that coma for so long. Like, I definitely want them to be able to visit her somehow or something.
Yeah, I think they would have to put a little bit of a spin on it where it's not quite as, and maybe her and Lucas have a moment, like we said, because I think with the others in the like regular world, if you like, at least you can, if you're going to kill one of them off, at least you can have a final big scene with them and a character close to them. Yeah. it obviously would be a little sadder if Max went, but didn't have a big scene with Lucas.
Yeah.
Again. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do like the new direction they're taking with her so far, and the stuff with her and Holly. I'm really enjoying. I liked Holly using like the analogy of the Winkle in Time book, like when Max explains what's going on. I've never read that book. I never read the film or never saw the film, so I don't know exactly that. But you know, I do like this show the way it uses that stuff and uses it to show that these kids are processing these things in their own way, and that's kind of what nerd culture is. We kind of understand the world through these things. So
yeah,
that was really nice stuff. So yeah, promising stuff for the second half of the season with the Max plot, I think. I enjoyed a lot of the mythology building in this episode with her plot. I enjoyed seeing Joyce as a teenager. It's a little funny because we obviously know through movies what a really young Winona Ryder looks like, but it didn't matter, you know, in the scene you're like, yeah, this looks like Joyce might look as a teenager.
Yeah, it worked.
So it works. Yeah, I was wondering because we only really get a little bit of them in this episode, but what lays in store for the Nancy group? Like, because they're in the Upside Down now, and that's fun.
I don't know. I honestly didn't think about that too much because of everything else, you know, going on. But that's interesting.
Yeah, that feels a little bit season 4, where now they're almost trying to do their bit in the Upside Down to help out the overall thing, rather than before when they were just part of the main group, and now they've got their own thing. But like, I'm happy with that because there's lots of potential drama with that, with all those characters. So we'll see more of that stuff, no doubt. And I love the car scene, the action scene with them chasing the Demogorgon away and them going into the Upside Down.
Yeah,
that was fun. So I think I'm gonna actually, when we end, I'm gonna play the trailer for the next part of the season.
Oh, okay.
But like, I'm pretty sure Dr. K is in the next part, so that's good because I wasn't quite sure if they did kill her off in that scene, but I think they maybe just wounded her and knocked her out. So it looks like we are getting more Linda Hamilton. So
nice.
Okay, so if you had to pick an MVP of the season so far, who would it be?
Dang. I guess you're right. I guess Nancy. I mean, Hopper did a great job in terms of like the the physical kind of stuff, and also, you know, guiding Elle. But I do feel like Nancy's been more of like the solving the mystery kind of. She's been Nancy Drew this season. I also really love Joyce's efforts, even though she doesn't know what she's doing sometimes. Like the flux capacitors.
That was so good. That's amazing.
Yeah. So like for effort, I feel like Joyce gets it. You know, she's trying to protect Will. She's, you know, she's juggling so many balls. Poor Joyce, you know, and I feel like, and you know, also her boyfriend's going into the Upside Down consistently, and she's afraid he's gonna die every time. She's got to deal with that emotional, you know, fear. So I want to give her some credit too. It might not look like she's doing a lot, but she's doing a lot. So she's one of the MVPs for sure.
Yeah. No, it's been a good season for her, and Nancy continues on her momentum from season 4, because I thought probably for her season 4 was the best season she'd had so far, and now I think she's just growing even more in this season. So Nancy and Joyce are both good choices, but I'm actually going to stick with Robin. I will give it to Robin because I
Mm,
think I love the whole rocking Robin thing. That's such a natural role for her. I
mm-hmm,
think the pop culture moments have been a standout, and once again using those ideas and just some great comedy. She had some great dynamics. She's got
mm-hmm,
good chemistry with Will. That's an
mm-hmm,
interesting new dynamic, a lot of fun. So she has some of the best one-liners, and but she also knows her shit. You know, you take her seriously that she knows what she's talking about and
mm-hmm,
has ideas. You know, like when she's using the whole science about the like Will being almost like an antenna, almost.
mm-hmm.
I love
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
so it is close. Like I think maybe you're looking at those three characters for MVP so far.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I'll go Robin because she has had some of the best comedy moments and some great one-liners. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go Robin so far for the season.
Yeah.
And so okay, so I think your best episode is Sorcerer,
Mm-hmm.
like, and my best episode is episode 3, the Turbo
Mm-hmm.
Trap. As I said, it's the combination of Frank Darabont's direction and a lot of the just the individual character moments, and then the whole group thing, and
Mm-hmm.
some great dark humor with the drug scene. So that's it's good.
Yeah, the joke seems so good.
So if you had to pick a best scene so far this season, what would that be?
You know, the scene that first comes to mind and the scene that feels the biggest is Karen Wheeler's moment of fighting the Demogorgon and protecting her daughter. To me,
Hmm.
even though like Holly's a minor character, Mrs. Wheeler's really not that big of a character either. I mean, Holly's a bigger character now, but at the moment, you know, she's
At
just
the
Mike's little
time, yeah.
sister. Yeah. So the stakes shouldn't feel so high, but you know, it's at the end of the day, it's a mother protecting her child from a monster. And she's like mentally in season 1 where no one knows, you know, no one knows what's going on. So she's, you know, she's just, I think she's a little bit relatable because she's not kind of like The Walking Dead. After a certain number of seasons, they're all kind of like zombie killing experts and they're a little less relatable.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, Karen Wheeler is all of us if we were thrown in that situation.
Yeah,
And
great
the
point.
scene is just shot so well. And the actress is so good at, you know, like evoking our sympathy. So for me, that would be the standout scene. And then Will's getting his power would be the second, just from
Yeah.
a cinematic perspective. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, no, that's really good shots. Yeah, I think it may be close between the Karen scene and again, I've got to go back to the whole Turnbull thing and the whole drugging thing and like just the everything building up to that and the characters' reactions and it's like, are we really doing this? Are we really drunk like drugging a family to like do
Mm-hmm.
this? And yeah, there's something funny about the extreme they went to,
Yeah.
but it's one of those great high stakes plots
Mm-hmm.
once again where everyone's involved, everyone has a role to play, but if just one thing goes wrong,
Mm-hmm.
then the plan is kind of screwed. And I
Mm-hmm.
love like the stakes of that and how
Yeah.
everything. I love that visual of them just knocking out the floor and standing over it, and like I
Mm-hmm.
think it's Steve has got one of those masks on over his nose, so it's all good stuff. So
Yeah. That's a good choice. That's
yeah,
definitely the best comedy scene, in my opinion,
yeah,
of the season. One of the best of the show. So yeah, that's, and like also, yeah, the way it all just comes together and feels very high stakes, but is also hilarious. It's a great scene. Yeah, it's a good choice.
yeah. Okay, so I think we've covered the season pretty well and the 4
Hmm.
episodes. So do you have any predictions for the second half of the season? Any other thoughts?
I feel like we've talked about pretty much everything, but I do
Hmm.
think Elle's probably safe. I don't see them putting her through everything that they did to kill her off. Same thing with Hopper. I feel like if they killed either of them, that would be a big mistake in terms of like hurting the rewatch value, hurting people's desire to see more. Just because they played with those characters dying so much, and people just don't want to see that. They just don't want to see that for them. I feel like Will is probably safe.
Okay.
And Joyce and Max, for all the reasons we said. I do feel like, yeah, Max might get trapped in the underworld or have some kind of mystical role, but I definitely don't think they're just going to kill her. I think Dustin will make up with Steve.
Yeah.
And he will reconcile his feelings and make peace with what happened to Eddie. Somehow. And
okay. Well,
I think either Steve ends up with Nancy or one of them is gonna die. So
yeah,
because I think that they've just been hinting that Jonathan's not the best boyfriend for her. So that's why Steve's either got to make the heroic sacrifice or she's gonna end up with Steve somehow. So.
Or in a plot twist, Steve ends up with Jonathan.
If you see some of them like interviews and stuff, it definitely there's definitely that vibe. Even though Jonathan's married to Nancy in real life, they have such a bromance that it's just like.
Oh, they actually married. I knew they were together, but
maybe not. Maybe I assumed because they had a baby. You shouldn't do that nowadays.
I
don't know.
They had a baby.
Yeah,
I knew because they've pretty much been together since season 2, haven't they?
Yeah,
maybe even season 1. Certainly season 2.
Yeah, so that's
Murray put them together. The sly dog.
Yeah, he did such a good job. They got married in real life. So I think that they're married.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, so that's my prediction for that storyline. Really hope Steve doesn't die though. And I'm a little worried about Mike. Of all the characters, for some reason, Mike feels like that might be if they're going to do a big character death, just because he's connected to everyone. But he doesn't feel like he's got this major role. So maybe that means that he'll be, the sacrifice. So, because I mean, it would devastate Will, Elle, just everyone. So I don't know. Yeah. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I know there's going to be at least one big character death, and I hope
you would think so.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone I would wish it upon. I just hope Steve, Hopper, and Elle and Joyce are all okay.
Well, you're just going to run through the whole cast.
I know.
You're never going to be happy.
I know. So I don't know. Maybe they'll defy all our expectations, and there actually won't be a big character death. I wouldn't be disappointed if they did that, actually. Because when I think about the big character deaths, like Billy and Eddie, and
I mean, obviously, going all the way back to episode 2, at the time, Barb was a big death because they did set you up to believe she would be a regular character. And that's something the show did early on. They subverted things with her and Nancy. Because in another kind of show or movie, like the Barb character would become the more central character.
Yeah.
So that was really well done.
Yeah. So I think that, but then I also feel like tonally it's shifted a lot since then, and it's not quite as horror based. It feels more dark fantasy to me.
Okay.
So even though like they did kill Eddie, but then Eddie was like a new character too, so it's like he's a little more expendable. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like those major character deaths have never been my favorite parts of the show. Because I'm a wimp and I like my characters and I don't want them to die. That's how I felt watching Alice in Borderland season 3. I was just like, just don't kill Shishia. And then they didn't bring him back. And I was like, well, they do a cameo, but I was like, well, at least if he doesn't come back, he can't die. So silver lining there. But I was just like, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, please don't kill Arisu. Please don't kill the main characters, because then it's so hard to rewatch it knowing what you know. So yeah.
No, that's fair. I don't necessarily feel that strongly about it, because I think you do have. you have to have big character
Yeah.
deaths for stakes, but you know, I understand why it's
Yeah.
and
I just
sometimes it's just not the sort of show. Like I think you
mhm.
are right. This is a bit more of a positive, upbeat
Mhm.
type show overall, with definitely dark moments. Like it's
Mhm.
definitely darker than you would expect, like a team-based show to be at
Mhm.
times. But overall, it's a little bit more of the hopeful type show.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know. They might kill no one. They might kill several characters. Depends on how edgy they want to be. But also, I think they're definitely keeping spin-offs in mind in terms of like not wanting to go Game of Thrones crazy with death. Because,
Yeah.
you kill off too many characters, people get mad. They're like, I'm not watching a spinoff. They're just going to kill my favorites. It's one of the reasons I stopped watching Grey's Anatomy. So, yeah. So, and a few other shows
I didn't
probably.
expect that to get referenced tonight. Crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
And also, it's not the sort of show I would have thought there'd be that many deaths on, but I guess it's because
Oh,
it's a medical show.
for some reason, Grey's Anatomy kills people off like Game of Thrones. Like,
Okay.
and I think later on in the show, the writer got better about just like this character moved away instead of always killing them. But like almost everyone from the first season died, or almost died, and oh gosh, there's
Okay.
so many major characters that have been killed off, like in plane crashes and died in a car accident. And they actually make a joke about it. Sorry, I don't want to go on tangent, but they make a joke like every season some horrible catastrophe happens at the hospital, and they're like, the hospital's cursed. And
Mhm.
God, that would be so funny to do a supernatural version of Grey's Anatomy where there actually is a curse, like the hospital's built on a hellmouth or something. Anyways, yeah, so that show's crazy about killing off main characters for drama. And yeah, Stranger Things just isn't that kind of show. So I don't know. Like I said, Mike's what my gut's telling me might be the one that bites it if any major character does. But I
Yeah. Uh,
obviously don't want
uh,
that to happen. I don't know. I want them all to live.
another.
I don't know when I turned into such a wimp, but oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind too much if Jonathan died.
There you go.
I feel awful, but he's just never been my favorite.
You, 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 you got
Yeah.
there eventually. Like
I found
it,
one character. I'm like, we
yeah,
we can get rid of this one.
it's so funny that like I think sometimes it's the ones that are because like your Mike pick was interesting because I
Mhm.
never even considered him.
Mhm.
Um, but sometimes it's the one that I mean, obviously he has L, but you know, in general, like because in a way, if you're saying they won't do Hopper because they've gone to that well,
Mhm.
like that might mean Joyce. You know, if you're going for a slightly
I
unexpected one,
know.
Joyce could be a potential. Because I think with a lot of it, it's characters who you might think they're big enough for you to care, and it might be like a sacrifice. Like Will,
Mhm.
sorry, Joyce could sacrifice herself for Will, for example, to
Mhm.
save him. So it's that sort of character death I think we're talking about. But
Maybe.
yeah, you stepped over. I had a really good crack about Mike. I was going to be another Mike bites the dust. That was going to be my line. So I'm glad I got it out eventually. But it
uh,
was what was I going to
mm,
say? Yeah, no, there's a balance to these things. This is another future video, but like you know, it's. I think overall, Stranger Things, even though people do complain a bit, then it's a little too squeamish. I think
mhm.
it has handled character deaths pretty well. Like I think it has made it characters that are gonna at least add stakes to because they're important to other characters.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
Bob was like that in season 2. Like
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
started off as a bit of a useless character, but over the season he did grow on us, and you could see that he actually cared about Joyce and
Yeah.
Will. So
Yeah.
when he
And
went, and he
mhm.
was heroic at the end as well. So
Yeah. And then Billy definitely has an impact on Max and her plot in season 4. And then Eddie's, as we can see, influencing Dustin. So yeah, you're right. They definitely handle death really well and seem to know what they're doing. So, but again, if they do it to Hopper after all the times they've made us suffer through thinking he was gonna die, I will be so pissed. So, and of course, you can't kill L because what does that do to Hopper? So, I definitely feel like any
Okay.
character's safe, it's L, because why would they do that to Hopper? That's worse than death for his character. So I don't think they'll do that to her.
No, it's actually a good point because he's gotten a second chance with Elle because of him losing his daughter prematurely. So no, it's a good point, even though I did speculate that maybe Elle being so crucial to the whole thing that maybe she could do something where she reverses time so that she's not really in Hawkins to save everybody else. I think that was just my idea about like time travel may well play a part in this season, but no.
Yeah, that wrinkle in time definitely kind of felt like a nod to maybe some time travel. I don't know. I haven't read it either, so I don't really know the reference. But like and a lot of people have speculated that. So I don't know if it's just a fan theory that's caught on. I'm not sure how I would feel about it because I feel like so far, even with the Upside Down and Will getting powers, it's always felt very grounded. And time travel feels like a much odder, it's a much stranger thing. No, it's a lot more mystical, and I don't know. Like, I know this isn't a super grounded show, but I do feel like time travel is just a whole other thing, and they probably should have introduced that a lot sooner if they were going to go in that direction. But they still could. So,
Okay.
because they're introducing supernatural characters left and right. Now Will's got powers. They reintroduced Callie. Who knows? And that could be part of the government secret too that they're keeping, is trying to figure out time travel and control it. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that seems a good point. Actually, I do have one more question before we do the roundup. Because I mentioned her a minute ago. Do you think there's any chance there's a callback to Barb? Like further on? Justice for Barb returns.
I was never really a fan of Barb, so I don't care.
No.
But I do think that they've done so many callbacks already, so there's a good chance. There's a good chance maybe Nancy will bring it up at some point. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm. It is funny. Again, it's going back to that season because I definitely know friends who were a bit like, yeah, we're not so keen on. We're not so keen on Nancy. A little bit, maybe early on, but it's like, yeah, you sort of, because I think that was the thing that Barb was meant to represent, the more nerdy type gal, but that was the way it subverted things, which was really well done. But it was, yeah, I didn't have a strong feeling on Barb, but I mean, it was sort of funny watching it back because I'd forgotten it was as early as episode 2 that they killed her.
Wow, yeah, I forgot
was
too.
Big statement, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that whole thing and the way they brought it back in season 2, it works because of Nancy. It works because it's important to her. So I was happy she had that closure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fine. Okay, so that's our mammoth discussion on Stranger Things 5, Volume 1, and we'll definitely be talking more Stranger Things in the future. Hopefully do some more Season 5 chat at some point. But thank you, Madison, for joining me tonight. Had a lot of fun, some great discussion. So everyone feel free to jump in the comments and let us know what you think of this season so far and what you think about some of our talking points and some of our questions. And yeah, as I said, support the 2 channels. Give me a super thanks if you like to support the channel monetarily. You can also go to patreon.com/boardnow or become a channel member and hit that hype button. Hype me up. As always. And Madison, why don't you promote your stuff as well before we leave.
Thank you. So I think Monday you're releasing, I mean, this is both of us, but our video talking about, just a reminder, about our favorite movies, least favorite movies, favorite TV shows, and least favorite TV shows. A lot of it's horror focused because my channel is very horror centric, but we talked a little bit about a few other films too throughout the year that we liked that are not horror. That's coming out Monday, I think. And then I think on the same day I scheduled I might change that to Tuesday. There's too much Madison if there's 2 videos involving me talking on the internet on the same day. That's too much. My most anticipated horror films for next year. I'm going to be releasing that sometime next week.
Oh, wow.
And then first or second week of January, I plan on releasing Horror Trends for the 2026, which is where I go over all the trends I noticed last year. Like things like grief horror was really big, and pregnancy horror, which was big the year before, is kind of like gone. So I'm talking about that, and then the trends I think we're going to see in 2026 based on the movies that have been announced and based on the trends from the previous year. So that'll be coming out in January. And that's all I've got so far. So yeah, and my channel is Madison Estes, which I'm sure Keith has. We'll put somewhere in the description on this video.
Put that
in. It's just my name. So
and our video on Monday. Yeah, sometimes simple is the best. Go old school. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I figure if I ever change directions, at least my channel's like, I don't know. When I started out, I had so many different ideas what I wanted to do. So it's like, I'll just keep it my name, and it's just always been that.
Simple, so. Yeah. Sometimes people get caught up with trying to go with the clever options, but just simple. No, that's great. Yeah. So lots of stuff coming up on her channel to look forward to. And I'm also doing a preview of TV and films that's coming out next year. That's sort of in the works as well for me, so that should be up quite soon. So yeah, lots of end of year stuff looking forward as well from both of us, so that's great fun. And yeah, definitely have Madison on again soon. But thanks everyone, thanks for listening tonight and joining in, those of you who did. And I will just end with the Stranger Things trailer for the next part of the season, so we're going to end with that and then say goodnight. But yeah, I guess we should also say Happy Christmas, because maybe the last time before Christmas. Have a great Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year. And I will play us out with the trailer.
This whole time, everything we have ever assumed about the Upside Down has been dead wrong.
This isn't like one of your campaigns. You don't get to write the ending. Not this time.
We stay true to ourselves. Stay true to our friends. No matter the cost.
After what we've been through, this thing, it ties us together. Forever.
Wherever this blood leads, I need you to fight one last time. Let's end this, kid.
Mother of God.
You die, I die.
You die, I die.
We never stood a chance.
We failed.
This is not over. Not by a long shot.
It's time for new.
I don't know what's on the other side of any of this. If we want to stand a chance of surviving, we need to be a team.
Well, yeah, getting some feelings from that. Yeah.
I know there was a lot of Mike in that. That worries me.
Yeah,
Reminds me of
I
The
thought of
Walking
that.
Dead. They would always give a character like a whole episode before they killed them sometimes. So that makes me nervous.
Oh no.
But
Yeah.
everything looks so good. Apparently Steve and Dustin are gonna have reconciliation.
They're
We all
gonna
knew it.
have
But
that's
it definitely looks like they reconciled. It was very sweet. Some heavy bromance going on. Maybe Skiltonius is right. If Steve does die, maybe it will be for Dustin because it looks like the bromance is going to be heavy. So, yeah. But hopefully Steve will be okay. And yeah, that has me really excited for I was already excited, but even more, I'm so hyped now. So I can't wait.
that was a great little tease, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike actually is a sleeper character for the season, like for MVP. I think he's having a really good season.
Mm-hmm.
As I said,
Yeah.
I love the fake limp when he was
Yeah.
pretending to be the doctor. That was so good.
Yeah,
But,
that was
yeah.
good.
But
Mhm.
yeah, there's only one way to end after that, which is Madison. If you die, I die. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care. I feel like we could just keep doing that. Like everyone could do it. Say to everyone near them, if you die, I die. It's
Oh
the
my
end of
gosh.
the world. Okay. Right, we're definitely done now because Madison's dog is telling us to get off. See you later, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.